The following is an exclusive presentation of the World Baseball Classic.
Shohei Ohtani, 1 of 1.
¡Siéntate! Lo retrata sin sonrisa.
God! George has arrived. Good night now. Santa Maria. High and deep and gone. World Baseball Classic. You get it all.
For more than 150 years, baseball has been a cherished profession, and one generation after another has watched their uniformed heroes perform the impossible on emerald-hued diamonds. But every few years, the game has a different feel, as if it were cut from a whole new cloth. Pennants are replaced with flags, as arenas and far-flung destinations are blanketed in multinational pride. Rivals become teammates, and teammates become rivals.
Jones still on the move, running out of room, and he makes it! Ohtaniか、トラウトか。空振り三振！最後は大谷翔平が締めくくった！
Greatness takes the field wearing many colors, while a heartfelt passion for the game fills the stands, stitched together with pride. Stadium anthems are replaced by actual anthems that resonate with the faithful. Because those stepping to the plate share your banner, your history, your heritage. And there's nothing like rooting for one's true home team. This month, we are gifted a rare and beautiful opportunity, a chance to remember what a thrill it is to play, to cheer, to lay it all on the line for a flag.
They did it! They win it! Down goes the Dominican! Nelson Cruz will hit to left, and it's gone! Eugene has done it again!
20 teams, 5 continents, 4 venues, 1 pastime. Welcome to the 2026 World Baseball Classic.
The sun sets on a picture-perfect Caribbean day in San Juan, Puerto Rico, with one game already in the books on the first day of Pool A. And all evening, fans have been arriving at historic Huron-Bithorn Stadium, taking in the atmosphere and maybe some pregame jitters to get themselves ready for tonight's main event, as Nolan Arenado and host Puerto Rico get set to take on visiting Gio Urshela and Colombia. After opening play in Japan yesterday, the World Baseball Classic has returned to the Americas, and here is where you find us. Tonight, for the first time since 2013, the home team takes the field for a WBC game at Huron-Bithorn Stadium as Puerto Rico welcomes Canada, Colombia, Cuba, and Panama for Pool A. The last of those two teams already played today, a 3-1 win for Cuba over Panama, and tonight the main event with Puerto Rico getting set to go against Colombia. Hi everybody, my name is Tyler Mon, alongside your favorite color guy's favorite color guy, Ryan Rowland-Smith. Ryan, we've been waiting for this night for 3 years.
Well, we've been waiting for 3 years, but here in San Juan, look, you mentioned it, they had to wait since 2013 to host the World Baseball Classic. We know Puerto Rico is always so prominent in this event. They are fired up just like we are.
Now, Ryan, there is some discussion with this Puerto Rico roster as much about who is here as who is not here. 3 big names missing from this squad. Only one of them, technically due to the much discussed insurance issue, but big holes to fill in this lineup.
Well, this Puerto Rico team, look, we know they live off that energy we're going to see tonight, but man, you talk about derailing, that deflating feeling when you all of a sudden you lose your big 3, Carlos Correa, Francisco Lindor, and Javi Baez, just months before we kick it off. But this roster still has a bunch of firepower, including Seth Lugo, one of the best pitchers in the game the last couple of years. He was runner-up in the Cy Young in 2024, had really a breakout year in the rotation. But last year, it was 2 different Seth Lugos. The first half, 2.67 ERA. The second half, riddled with some minor injuries. But you know what? If he is here in Puerto Rico, the World Baseball Classic, he comes into spring training fully healthy, ready to go. He's going to be the staff ace.
2024 All-Star known as the Puerto Rican because he plays to honor his grandfather who was born here in San German. He goes for Puerto Rico tonight opposite another All-Star, as it's a veteran who gets the ball for Colombia this evening and a guy who's not going to be fazed by this atmosphere, and the lefty Jose Quintana.
Well, yeah, Jose Quintana, he's pitched in some massive situations in the big leagues. And look, 14 years in the majors as he's approaching his late 30s. One of the most consistent left-handed pitchers in the game, racking up the wins, the innings, and the strikeouts. 9 of his 14 years, he's thrown 30-plus starts, not to mention the fact the last 100 starts, a 3.5 ERA. But we got a chance to talk to his coaches yesterday. This means the world to him. He had a chance to pitch in 2017. He absolutely dominated Team USA, nearly went no-hitter in 6 innings, getting a chance to come back in 2026 and represent Colombia.
That 2017 game was really a pivot point in the World Baseball Classic. If the U.S. loses that game, they very likely do not move on to their eventual lone WBC title. Jose Quintana took a no-hitter into the 6th inning, finally allowed a hit in the 6th, and was lifted from that game in an eventual no decision. But he is no stranger to this massive stage as he gets the ball here today. And this one is going to be a fun one. You hear the fans behind us. The pregame energy has been incredible. This team, this island, ready to go on a monster night inside Reborn here on Bithorn Stadium. Lineups, first pitch, all of it is coming up from San Juan next. By the general manager of this Puerto Rico squad, Carlos Beltran, who's been hanging out, Edgar Martinez, Ryan Rowland-Smith, a guy you're very familiar with. First pitch, we'll call it a strike, why not? It has been an electric type of night. Also, when you have Puerto Rodriguez catching your first pitch, it's not a bad way to get things started, right?
That is epic. So many big names, Hall of Famers all over the place. Edgar and Carlos Beltran talking hitting before the game. That's what it's all about as you see Jose Quintana.
24 starts last season with the Brewers, and kind of a tale of two halves of the season for Jose Quintana. Just signed a contract with the Colorado Rockies for this 2026 campaign, but he is just the poised guy that you need in Game 1.
Yeah, and look, he loves this stage. We heard that from his manager yesterday, how much this means to him. He's approaching that tail end of his career, just signed that 1-year deal with the Rockies, but plenty of poise and presence on the mound. Keeps the ball down. He can pitch on both sides of the plate. The changeup is going to be that big weapon against this Puerto Rican lineup, down and away. Look for him to be on both sides of the plate and try and be as efficient in this first round as he can.
And this is a very different looking Puerto Rico lineup, highlighted maybe by the guy in the 3 spot who has played twice in this World Baseball Classic for the United States, including getting the final put out in 2017 when the U.S. won the title. That's Nolan Arenado, now of the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Right, and we spoke to Yadi Molina yesterday talking about having that conversation with Nolan Arenado at the end of last year and asking him. He said it was a huge honor to hear from his former teammate with the St. Louis Cardinals to come over and represent Puerto Rico. And here he is. And you mentioned it too, coming back from a couple years with the Cardinals and being with the Arizona Diamondbacks. What a launching pad this could be for him to have a huge 2026.
Yadier Molina has been Mr. World Baseball Classic for this island, a guy who made so many highlight reel plays for Puerto Rico in 2013 and in 2017, and now as the manager of this squad, kind of tasked with molding the younger generation and bringing them into the forefront of this stage for Puerto Rican baseball. As obviously we've talked about the guys who are missing from this team. We'll touch on that a little bit more as the evening goes along. But we are ready to rock and roll. Willie Castro will lead things off for Puerto Rico, and the first pitch of this Friday night contest is bounced out to second base as Castro aggressive on the first offering he sees from Quintana. 1 up, 1 down.
And for Jose Quintana, he'll take that all night long, those quick outs. This team is going to be aggressive. Get that weak contact, get as deep as you can into this game.
So Quintana, 1 pitch and 1 gone. That'll bring up Elliot Ramos of the San Francisco Giants. It is obviously a big change turning on a World Baseball Classic game with Puerto Rico playing and not seeing Carlos Correa and Francisco Lindor and Javi Baez, but there are some really, really fun young players who are in this lineup. And Elliot Ramos, a guy we heard so much about during his track as a prospect, getting to the big leagues with the San Francisco Giants, a 2024 National League All-Star. Quintana home and a swing and a miss to make it 0-2 on Ramos. Last season, 157 games with the Giants. Ramos a .256 hitter with a .728 OPS. He was the first homegrown outfield all-star for the Giants since Chili Davis in 1986. The 0-2 pitch, fouled. Really good crowd already in the house. Tons more people filing in. We can see
the highway beyond the outfield wall here, and it has been backed up for about the last hour with cars getting into the grounds here at Iran Bithorn Stadium. The first ball of the evening bounces away from Colombia's backstop, Carlos Martinez, and it's 1-2 on Ramos.
There they are, filing into the exit.
Getting to their seats here at Iran Bithorn Stadium, although I will say the bleachers already packed. The seating bowl from first to third, wrapping down the lines, a little bit more open seating at the moment, but a swing and a miss, and the first strikeout of the night goes to Quintana, 2 away.
We know about this Colombian team, going to have to play good defense behind Quintana. You look at Donovan Solano, got a chance to play in 2017. He pulled out of 2023, veteran player. He was one of these guys that came over to the Seattle Mariners last year, Tyler, to be that presence, be more of that veteran presence. Play in any position, but he's playing second base tonight for Colombia.
And here is the first World Baseball Classic at bat wearing a Puerto Rico uniform for Nolan Arenado, who has Puerto Rican lineage on his mother's side, honoring his mom and his grandma, taking part of this 2026 WBC, wearing not only the uniform, but also the Team Rubio blonde hair, is Nolan Arenado. Good look for Nolan, I like it. And we've got a pitch clock violation on Colombia. That'll make it 2 balls and a strike here on Arenado. There you get a look at the young manager of this Colombia squad, Jose Mosquera, who is such an interesting and bright guy, fascinating guy to talk baseball with, as we got a chance to do yesterday. Arenado takes that one on the inside part of the plate to even it up. Mosquera, 39 years old. He's the second manager in his 30s that we've seen today. As with 1 game already in the books, the 2-2 skied out toward shallow center and backpedaling.
Diane Frias is there to put it away. Arenado retired. Puerto Rico gone scoreless. Colombia coming up. Starting lineup looks like this for Jose Mosquera's Colombia team as we get into night number 1 of Pool A play. Gustavo Campero will lead things off, but Ryan, a guy your organization really excited with the Seattle Mariners. He is in the 2 spot today as the designated hitter.
Really excited to watch Michael Arroyo. About to make his Major League debut very soon. Hitting that 2 spot for Colombia.
There you get a look at the veteran starter for Puerto Rico tonight, Seth Lugo. 26 starts a year ago with the Kansas City Royals, a 4.15 ERA, but he is just 1 season removed from being the American League Cy Young runner-up, finished behind Tarek Skubal in 2024. As you look at the numbers for Gustavo Campero, who is in the Los Angeles Angels organization. Takes that pitch down and in. 2 balls and a strike on him. Puerto Rico fans so ready for this night to arrive. As we've talked about a little bit, they have not seen a WBC game here at Iran Bithorn Stadium since 2013. But man, Ryan, it has been ever present all over the place here in San Juan over our last couple of days, just walking around town, talking to people at the hotel and restaurants. The excitement level here is outstanding as Nolan Arenado in front of the wall. Vintage Nolan for out number 1 in the first.
Well, Nolan Arenado the last couple of years, as everyone talks about, maybe there's a little bit of decline, but you've got 10 gold gloves under your belt. That's a big reason why. Look at that. Staying with that ball. But what a time for him when you think in the last 6 months, moving that no trade clause to get traded over to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Brand new team, gets a chance to play for Puerto Rico. Didn't have the chance to play for Team USA, a team he played for in the last WBC.
With 1 away, it brings in MLB Pipeline's number 67 overall prospect, the number 5 in the Seattle Mariners organization, Michael Arroyo. Arroyo, a middle infielder by trade. Also seen some time in the outfield. Sees the count go to 0-2 on him. Second-ranked second base prospect in baseball, according to Pipeline. And 0-2 on the way to him from Lugo.
And you love these matchups too. If you're a baseball fan or if you're a Seattle Mariners fan watching one of your big prospects, getting a chance to see at game speed, mid-season speed when we're talking not spring training, but a chance to face a guy like Seth Lugo.
And a swing and a miss on 1 and 2, and Lugo's starting strong. He's retired the first 2 he's seen.
And that breaking ball is so nasty from Seth Lugo. He'll change the angle on that pitch, and here's your favorite nickname, Tyler, of all time, I believe. There's some of the giggles I'm getting.
It's a good one.
The Puerto Rican. But he throws the kitchen sink, a lot of different pitches, a lot of different looks from Seth Lugo, and a big reason why is because that elite spin on that curveball had that variation on that breaking pitch. He's leaned into that pitch so heavily the last couple of years.
Seth Lugo's grandfather, his paternal grandfather, is who he honors with his participation in this event for Puerto Rico. He was born in San German, and whoever came up with the Puerto Rican, I mean, brilliance. 2017, his first appearance in this event for Puerto Rico. He pitched against the United States twice in that event, had a terrific outing in the second round, then pitched against them again in the final as they fell to Marcus Stroman in the United States. Marcus Stroman, who would later pitch for Puerto Rico in this event. As Lugo gets set to go with a 2-strike count against Reynaldo Rodriguez, the former Boston Red Sox prospect, and elevates but misses there 1 and 2.
Trying to sneak that low 90s past Rodriguez.
Lugo ready. 1-2 pitch. Got him.
Good start for Seth Lugo and for this crowd. 3 up, 3 down. We're headed to the top of the second in a scoreless game. Two guys who have pitched in huge moments, not only in the World Baseball Classic, but in their major league careers as well. And Seth Lugo and Jose Quintana formed the 6th oldest starting pitching duo in World Baseball Classic history at just over 73 combined years. Jose Quintana flawless his first inning of work, and Seth Lugo the same on the other side as Quintana deals the first pitch of the top half of the second inning to Carlos Cortez for ball 1. Puerto Rico, obviously the home team, the host team. They're the visitors on the line score today. They're wearing the road grays. They are in the home dugout over on the first base side. As the count goes even on Cortez, 1-1.
I'll tell you what, though, both these guys, you mentioned the combined age, good velocity early. So Seth Lugo finishing off that inning with some good 92s, good life on that pitch. We talked about how last year was a tale of 2 different guys dealing with some injuries. Quintana hitting a couple 92s, 93s here already.
Seth Lugo, it's interesting. He has said effectively he thinks that his reliance on breaking stuff has made him too predictable to hitters, so he's been focused on adding velocity. And it seems like that's working out so far as Quintana goes to a 2-2 count here on Carlos Cortez. Cortez, the first ambidextrous position player in Major League history. He throws from both sides. This isn't a Pat Venditti situation for the real ones who know ball. He throws left-handed from the outfield, right-handed when he plays the infield, and that was all the urging of his father, Juan, who when Carlos was 8 years old, said a lot of coaches told him, you know, you're short and you're a lefty. Kind of limits what you can do, so we encouraged him to learn how to throw right-handed, and now it's like having a couple of different guys on your roster. The 3-2 pitch, and Cortez skies 1-2 center. O'Brien Welvis will put it away, 1 down.
Jose Quintana, we talked about what he does against lefties and righties, pitches in with that fastball. You see the 44% on the sinker. That pitch is going to be down and away. You're going to see more of the slurve and the breaking balls, the 2 breaking balls to lefties, and that changeup is going to be prominent. Going to need that tonight against some of these righties.
So with 1 away, brings up Darrell Hernandez out of the A's organization as well. 51 games up at the big league level last year. 231 hitter with an OPS just under 600. He is a San Juan native. And in 2023, he was watching the World Baseball Classic in his hotel room. Sort of made a promise to himself that he was going to be on this team in 2026. And that being said, I would imagine even back then, he probably didn't think, well, I'll be the starting shortstop at that point. But that is the role that he finds himself in here in 26. Quintana kicks and deals the 1-1, and Hernandez fights it off foul first base side. Darryl, last season in 96 games at the AAA level, a .305 hitter with an .807 OPS. The Las Vegas Aviators of the AAA International League. And all the way to the AAA National Championship game. 1-2 pitch in tight. Hernandez grew up mostly in San Juan, but he was actually partially raised in El Paso, Texas. He spent his early years here in San Juan and then moved to the States. Two-two, Quintana deals, and a bouncing ball left side, speared over there by Gio Urshela. 2 gone, 5 up and 5 down to get things started for Puerto Rico.
And keeping on that pitch count too. 21 pitches now, 2 outs here in the second inning. One thing with Colombia, yeah, you get a Jose Quintana to kick it off here, and a guy who feels like matches up really well against this Puerto Rican team, especially when they lost 3 of their big players. But the big question is going to be the depth on that rotation to see Gio Urshela. A nice play again to keep that pitch count in good shape.
And first pitch swinging, Emmanuel Rivera greets Urshela as well. A couple of 5-3 putouts wrap things up in the second. We'll go to the bottom of the second inning. Still scoreless in San Juan. In sync pitching arsenal looks like it's Seth Lugo for Puerto Rico.
And we've seen this the last couple of years. We've seen so many different pitches, different looks, the variables to that breaking ball. We know he can spin that thing at around 3,500 RPM, one of the highest spinning breaking balls in the game. And one thing that makes Seth Lugo so special is the fact he can vary the looks and vary the angles of that one pitch, really, and then it turns into 2 or 3. I mean, have a look at this. And you see the average velocity, too. We talked about this for Seth Lugo. One thing coming into this year being fully healthy is that 4-seam fastball velocity getting up into the 92s like we just see right here.
He actually had 10 different distinct pitches in 2025, the most in Major League Baseball. And Ryan, we were talking between games as Donovan Solano leads things off for Colombia. It's 4-5-6, the middle of the order for he and his squad. Waves, he can't get a piece there. I said, how much of that, in effect, is a distinctly different pitch, and how much is pitch tracking software, the cameras, all of that, just reading similar pitches in different ways? He said, no, it really is. I mean, that's effectively 10 different pitches.
Yeah, well, I think when you talk about Seth and that breaking ball, we saw that the last couple were essentially the same idea behind the pitch, but just, again, changing the angles. Easier said than done. Now, we know about that good 12-6, that really high spin that can have that depth to it. But one thing he figured out the last couple of years, especially when he's getting a chance to be lengthened out as a starting pitcher, well, he can vary the shapes and the looks. And all of a sudden, you mentioned the pitch tracking, you know, pull up a slider, a slurve. You can slow it down, that ethos. You can see him trying to sneak that heater. Leighton Count's done that a couple times already tonight.
Just missed the outside black there to Solano. Comes back trying to hold up on his swing, and he's able to do so. So Solano will take a walk. He's the first base runner on either side. Leadoff walk gets Colombia started here in the bottom of 2.
Now, one thing with Seth Lugo, we talked about this last year, had that really good, it's close to a check swing, but that really nice 2.6 ERA first half, and then all of a sudden a 7.5 in the second half. Trying to work around some injuries, so he lost some velocity, he had the back stiffness, he had the issue with the finger. And man, when you're trying to get that good feel for some of those breaking balls, man, it can be so tough.
That'll bring up one of the really most lovable guys in this World Baseball Classic, and that is Harold Ramirez, who gets his first crack at Seth Lugo. Played some winter ball this year in the Mexican Pacific Winter League with the Naranjeros de Hermosillo. 65 games, 294 hitter with a 763 OPS. That's the Orange Growers, by the way, one of the great names in all of baseball. The Naranjeros, the Tomateros, the Culiacan in the Mexican League, the Tomato Growers. A ball and 2 strikes. Also played with Dos Laredos in the Mexican Summer League, the Liga Mexicana. 94 games in that circuit, which is an offense-heavy league. A 359 average with a 909 OPS. 6-year big leaguer, 2019 to 2024. Ramirez taps this one left side. Tough play for Arenado. Charging bare hand, and he doesn't have a play. So an infield single for Ramirez, and the first 2 on against Seth Lugo here in the bottom of 2.
Still move too, get down that line. 31 years old. Really nothing you can do with this ball. You think you got the AstroTurf, so maybe you can get a little bit of a better bounce, but really nowhere to go.
Yeah, Harold Ramirez, you look at him and you think, all right, he might not be the biggest speedster of all time, but he really does have some pretty decent wheels. Was able to swipe some bags in Mexico last year. 30 stolen bases for him. And he's on at first with Solano 1 station in front of him for another big league veteran bat, and Gio Urshela, who's going to try to sacrifice him over, and unable to get the first one laid down. It snowballs at a strike. Ryan, this kind of brings us back to a conversation that we had with Herman Mesa, the manager of Cuba's national team, about playing small ball in this World Baseball Classic event. And it comes into play because the value of each individual run is so important. Not just your runs scored, but your runs allowed as well. As the bunt down in front of the plate, and a contact play there between Maldonado and Urshela. There is instantly movement from the Puerto Rico dugout as Yadier Molina will come out for a conversation with Alex McKay, our home plate umpire.
Yeah, this is just asking the question about the interference, because that's a play that you could easily fire down to third base. Urshela trying to get down the line. The biggest thing here is if he stays on the line, but you have to clear that path for Maldonado. Trips. It's going to be all shred. They're not going to look at it. The mask in front of the ball as well.
Pretty quick conversation there between Yadier Molina and Alex McKay. And with that, it'll bring up Carlos Martinez in a big spot now with runners at second and third. Martinez spent 5 seasons in the Arizona Diamondbacks organization, but has most recently been with the Saraperos de Saltillo in the Mexican League. That's the Serape makers. We got a lot of good names in the Mexican leagues, man. 1-0 pitch on the way. Wave and miss, steven it up. Yadier Molina and a star-studded coaching staff for Puerto Rico. We'll get into that over the coming days. 10 games in 6 days from here at Bithorn Stadium in San Juan. The Puerto Rico Brain Trust over there in the first base dugout, trying to get their team through the second with no damage done. But Seth Lugo facing a jam. Second and third, 1 gone. Time called there by Martin Maldonado behind the plate. Colombia also with a lineup that looks a little bit different than maybe what the projections would have been coming into 2025. No Jorge Alfaro. He was a late roster move for this group. As Martinez back in, ready to go. And he skies one in the air to left. Backtracking out there. Ramos now coming in. Catch made. Tagging at third and holding. Everybody will return to their stations. And with 2 gone, that'll leave it up to Brian Buelvas.
You can try and see him getting that ball deep into left field. Just not deep enough. You can see Harold Ramirez coming up ready. Excuse me, Helio Ramos firing this ball. There's no way Donovan Solano at third base is going to make that close.
So Carlos Martinez, the second out of the inning. And the Puerto Rico chant starts for what he's turning into a capacity crowd here at Bithorn. And the first pitch is ball 1. Brian Buelvas is a guy who has already won some hardware in his international baseball career. 2021 bronze medalist at the U23 Baseball World Cup for Colombia in Hermosillo in Mexico, home to the Naranjeros, Estadio Sonora. 2 balls and no strikes. It was an interesting U23s. It was a year in which teams were not traveling from Asia due to the coronavirus pandemic, and so we had a lot of teams from the Americas. Venezuela won that World Cup, their first ever. Colombia capturing the bronze. Mexico, the host squad, taking the silver. The 2-0 there for a called strike, and it's 2-1. Great pitch from Lugo.
Yeah, you can see Seth Lugo so comfortable with that breaking ball. Any count, 2-0, just dumps it in there for a strike. It's right back in the count.
20th pitch of the inning on the way from Lugo. Off the plate outside, it's 3-1. It just hits different. The World Baseball Classic, it's second and third in the bottom of the second inning, and you can see the stress on all of these faces already. 3-1 is fouled at the plate, and the count will go full on Welvis.
You see that 21 pitches. Talk about being efficient. However, all comes down to this pitch right here. 3-2, open base. Going to try and spin that big breaking ball in the strike zone.
The crowd to their feet for Lugo and Puerto Rico. Right-hander's 3-2 pitch. Got him! Colombia threatens, but does not score. And we go to the top of the third, scoreless in San Juan. The hottest ticket in San Juan is this event tonight. Game number 1 for the home team, Puerto Rico against Colombia in Pool A action on our first day of the 2026 World Baseball Classic from here at Bithorn Stadium. Back inside our broadcast booth, Tyler Mon, Ryan Rowland-Smith. Ryan, really good start to this game for Jose Quintana, and kind of interestingly, both Jose Quintana and Julio Teheran, the other veteran starting pitcher on this Colombia roster, they kind of lobbied for the matchups that they will get in this first round.
Yeah, it's interesting. And by the way, we got word that Quintana was going to pitch his first time. We've seen this a lot, man. We've been around the World Baseball Classic a ton. Usually when you have your ace, you stack them against maybe like one of the mid-range teams, so to speak, a team that you can dominate and come up, get that win. But when all of a sudden he realized that Correa's out of the lineup and Francisco Lindor's out of the lineup, how he does against righties compared to how he does against lefties, pretty even splits, called his manager and said, hey, look, I want that game 1. I feel like we can take this game from Puerto Rico, get that upset, and start off the World Baseball Classic in 2026 with a W on night 1.
Here's what's coming up for this Colombia team. Tomorrow, they will square off with Canada, a team that was off today. Each of these teams getting a couple of off days in this 2026 Classic. Canada starting with the off day. They'll be off again on Monday. Colombia will not be off. They play 4 straight days right out of the gate, and then they are off the final 2 days. They sort of just wait around.
You see Quintana right here just kind of slip. Oh. So good.
It was just Olympic time. Can we get some judges' rulings on that?
He's just fresh off PFPs at Rockets camp. Let's go.
2 balls and 2 strikes to a Puerto Rico WBC legend and Eddie Rosario. You heard the Eddie chant a moment ago as he takes that one away, and the count full on the leadoff man here in the top half of the 3rd inning. This is the 4th Classic appearance for Eddie Rosario, who played 34 games in the big leagues last year between the Brewers, and check that, in AAA last year between the Brewers and Dodgers systems. At 313 with an 880 OPS, and he'll take a leadoff walk as the first base runner for Puerto Rico here to get the 3rd inning started.
And disrupt some of that rhythm from Jose Quintana. He'll try and get you to chase once he gets the 2 strikes out of the zone. You see Rosario right there not biting on that sweeping slider and that fastball up and in.
There are very few events in sports that make you feel more like you are part of them than the World Baseball Classic. Our crew doing such an amazing job with these shots from here on Bithorn Stadium, inside the dugouts. It's a fly ball in the air off the bat of Lugo, chasing Welvis back. Brian Welvis just covers so much ground so smoothly, and he's there to pull that one in.
See Lugo being aggressive, jumping on that first pitch. And Tyler, we heard this yesterday, how this ballpark plays big. We saw a couple of home runs in that game. Yohan Moncada hit that 2-run bomb against the wind in the left field. We saw a ball leave the yard out in right field, but you have that feeling at night that the ball's not going to carry quite as much.
Yeah, the wind has certainly not died down. We thought maybe we'd get into a night game and it would quiet down a little bit, but it has not, coming in directly from left field. There you see the flags atop that video board out in left center, and it's been coming in from that direction pretty much throughout. We saw that 3 years ago at Taichung Intercontinental Baseball Stadium for Pool A action in the 2023 Classic, where the wind blew in from left field as the runner's off from first, and a bouncing ball right to the second base bag for the world's easiest 4-3 double play as Donovan Solano makes the play himself. We are going to the bottom of
Line to left field. The catch is made by Bautista. The throw to the plate. Mercado's out, and we're going to extra innings. Colombia can't believe it. Jose Bautista throws out Mercado to send us to the 10th, and they're going to blow the roof off this place.
That play from Pool C in 2017 was the difference between Colombia winning that group and potentially moving on as the top team out of Pool C, and an eventual extra innings loss to the Dominican Republic. As we welcome you back to Puerto Rico's here on Bithorn Stadium. Tyler Mon, Ryan Rowland-Smith, bottom of the third inning. First pitch fly out there for Dan Frias. And one gone as we'll go back to the top of the order. Let's set the scene for that again. Reynaldo Rodriguez, who is on this team, batting out of the 3 spot, lined out on a 1-2 fastball to Jose Bautista out there in left. Bautista with that seed to the plate, 88-mile-an-hour throw to Wellington Castillo. Pulled it in, slapped the tag down on Oscar Mercado for the final out. That sent the game to extras. But Team Colombia, obviously, as you saw, very upset. 2 players were ejected from that game in that fracas. One of them was Rodriguez. The other one, Tito Polo, who was just added to this roster over the last few days. The Dominican Republic then scored 7 runs in the 11th inning to go undefeated in Pool C. Later lost 2 of 3 games in the second round to Puerto Rico and the United States. But man, you think about that game, you think about the narrow loss to the U.S. for Colombia, as this ball briefly kicked over there at second base, but no trouble on the recovery for Willie Castro. 2 gone as Gustavo Campero is retired. That'll bring up Michael Arroyo.
Yeah, and they got 1 for 3 in the last World Baseball Classic, then having to qualify again in Arizona last year to get to 2026.
And man, that was no trouble. Colombia was, I think, probably a little annoyed that they had to be there, so they drubbed their 3 qualifier opponents, Brazil, China, and Germany, by a combined score of 23-1 as the first pitch bows into the back of Michael Arroyo, and a 2-out hit batsman will give Colombia a base runner. They finished that qualifier with a 10-0 win in 7 innings over Germany. Like, all right, let's get out of here. We already know we're moving on. Let's move this thing along here.
I see this breaking ball just getting away. Young Michael Arroyo. I'll tell you what, Seth Lugo gets 2 quick outs. That pitch count at 40.
Michael Arroyo, no stranger to taking pitches to find his way on base for his team. The 5th-ranked Seattle Mariners prospect. Last season, high A and double A, a combined .834 OPS at those 2 stops in the M system. As Rodriguez will try to continue things with 2 outs, but instead skies one into the San Juan night. And Willie Castro is on the other end of it. That'll do it for Colombia in the 3rd. We're headed to the middle 3rd of this game, scoreless in San Juan.
Well, we move into the top half of the 4th inning, and we will not see Jose Quintana come out. After 3 brilliant innings, he is done and will take the rest of the night to hang in the Colombia dugout over on the third base side, and he'll give way to Adrian Almeida, who takes over on the pitcher's mound. And Ryan, interesting strategy here, just 30 pitches for Jose Quintana, so that's just 1 day of rest. Theoretically, we could see him later on in this World Baseball Classic, although again, Colombia plays 4 straight days to get this thing started.
Yeah, it could be a situation too where they look at this and you know, talk to obviously the Colorado Rockies, his big league team, and say, hey, look, what do we got from Quintana? What can we do here leading into this, into this situation? But look, he's a veteran player. He's on a prospect. So I'm kind of shocked too. You felt like he had some of that efficiency the first couple of innings. But we may see him a little bit later on in this pool. But this is where we talk about the depth with some of these teams like Colombia. In that pitching staff, this will always come back to bite you when you do have to go to the better part of that bullpen, as we see Almeida having to cover some innings here in a nothing game.
Adrian Almeida was a member of this pitching staff for the qualifier last year in Tucson, Arizona. He's got a leadoff strikeout here of William Castro. That'll bring up Elliot Ramos.
And he's got a fastball in the low 90s, 89 to 93. Command can be an issue. And you see the pitch restriction. So 50 plus, you need 4 days off. You get 30 plus. Just the 1 day, and not the 2 consecutive days. We saw that in the day game today, Tyler, with Levon Moinello and Yariel Rodriguez for Team Cuba. Both available to pitch that last game, that game number 4, to try and push him into the next round.
Foul at the plate there by Ramos. Almeida is no stranger to the international baseball stage. He was actually born in Puerto Cabello in Venezuela. Through his lineage, he's got eligibility for Colombia. Pitched for Colombia in the 2023 Classic, that 2025 qualifier. But prior to that, he actually pitched for Venezuela in an Olympic qualifying event in Port St. Lucie, Florida, the Americas qualifier back in 2021 ahead of the Tokyo Olympic Games. 1-2 count here on Ramos. San Francisco Giants outfielder awaits. Almeida deals, and a bouncing ball foul. Almeida went to work against Canada in the 2023 Classic. In that game, took the loss, but struck out 5 in 3 innings, allowed 1 run on 2 hits, 31 of his 53 pitches for strikes. Count 2-2.
Really good arm, man. I'm telling you, too, we talk about this, especially when players go over into Asia, in that territory where they can showcase, maybe get themselves signed to Korean team or Japanese team, especially to get back into affiliated baseball. If you can run through a lineup like this with Puerto Rico, some of these major league players, some of these all-stars, and overmatch them, it does nothing but boost that stock if you're trying to get back into pro ball.
Bouncing ball foul from Elliot Ramos. How about these World Baseball Classic themed batting gloves? The fresh Franklins for Elliot Ramos. The WBC colors all over them. Those are gorgeous. I'm liking those. I was a Franklin's guy as a poor amateur baseballer back in the day. Big cut and miss from Ramos there, and he has gone on strike, second K in 2 to face Almeida. Adrian Almeida, by the way, in his winter ball campaign this year, played for a team that you are familiar with, Ryan Rowland-Smith, the Cardenales de Lara.
Yes.
In the Venezuelan Winter League, 11 appearances for them, put it up an ERA just under 6, but he struck out 49 in 48 1/3 innings, and he only walked 22. Here's what we'll see from him.
And you see that live arm. We talked about the command issues. That fastball is getting beyond 93. You've seen a couple 94s already tonight. He's got that good mound presence about him too. And that breaking ball. But again, there's been multiple stories. A good friend of ours, Peter Moylan, for example, going back to 2006, when you can come from a non-affiliated background, whether it be the season prior or whatever it may be, and you come and dominate a world-class lineup like Yadier Molina's, it can work wonders to try and get you back into pro ball.
Even if you're a medical device salesman.
That's right.
As Peter Moylan was.
Shout out. Went on to have an epic career in the big leagues.
1-2 pitch, and Arenado goes down swinging, so a really strong first inning out of the bullpen for Adrian Almeida. 3 up, 3 down. He fans the side. We go to the bottom of the 4th in San Juan. Welcome back to the 2026 World Baseball Classic. Alongside former Major Leaguer and 2-time Team Australia WBC pitcher Ryan Rowland-Smith. My name is Tyler Mon in beautiful San Juan, Puerto Rico from historic Huron Bithorn Stadium. Thanks for hanging out with us for our continuing coverage of Pool A as we move into the bottom of the 4th inning. It'll once again be the middle third of the lineup or thereabouts for this Colombia team. As offense has been hard to come by to this point in this game for Colombia, for Puerto Rico. These two teams have combined for one hit. That was a single by Harold Ramirez, who waits in the on-deck circle after a leadoff walk to Donovan Solano in the second inning. And it is the same stretch of the lineup, 4, 5, 6, to get things going against Seth Lugo here in the bottom of 4.
Yeah, nothing game. Not a whole lot of offense. And Tyler, how many times have we seen this, man? When you come into this tournament,
Solano skies one out toward right center field. It's a long run for everybody, but Carlos Cortez is there.
You put your roster together. Obviously, Colombia had that little mini camp before they came over here, but Puerto Rico, just a couple days together, and man, you just don't have those days to wait to get into some kind of rhythm, especially offensively. You kind of go flat and you find it, but still nothing in Colombia. Hanging on to this tie with Puerto Rico, the favorite of Pool A.
So it brings up Ramirez, who has the lone hit in this game.
I'm curious too. Look, we've talked about Quintana matching up against Seth Lugo. Look, he is eligible to pitch against Cuba or Panama later on in this tournament, but we're kind of scratching our heads to see him, get removed from this game. But look, he's 37. It's not a situation where the Rockies say, hey, you can pitch once and that's it.
Right.
He's probably determining what he's going to do at his age and at this point in his career. So definitely maybe coming back, being available.
Ramirez, he is the hit machine today. The lone one as he's 2 for 2 with a couple of singles. The only 2 hits in this ball game, and it's a 1-out base runner for Colombia here in the 4th.
And I see that break ball middle of the plate. Getting into it in left field.
And Ryan, man, what a change it is from the early years of the World Baseball Classic that there is the possibility for a veteran player to kind of explain to his team, hey, this is what this means to me. This is probably my last chance to do this for my country. I really want to be out there as much as I can. 2006, that would have been pretty much unthinkable for a player to be able to stress the importance of this event to his club. Gio Urshela with a man on takes strike 1. Lifts one foul first base side. There will give this a look. We got some work going on in Puerto Rico's bullpen. That is Rico Garcia.
Right, and this is one of the strengths when we ranked earlier today, Tyler, the pitching staffs for these teams. Was that bullpen of Puerto Rico. A bunch of relievers. You have multiple arms and just got that 1 inning.
Out on a hop pass, the lunge of Vernez at short, and it's back-to-back knocks for Colombia in the bottom of the 4th.
And all of a sudden, Colombia getting that second look with that Seth Lugo breaking ball. Here, Urshela. Nothing to buy Hernandez there at shortstop.
That thing was stung. Hernandez, this is an infield that gives you a lot of true bounces, the new turf surface here, but looked like he might have been anticipating a little bit higher hop, and that just shot on by him. So back-to-back base hits, and it's first and second with 1 gone. Colombia had second and third with 1 gone in the second inning and didn't bring anything home. Trying to make something happen here against Seth Lugo, Carlos Martinez. Martinez thrust into this role with the absences of Jorge Alfaro and Elias Diaz.
Tyler, another thing too with Seth Lugo, right? His game prep is so much different in the World Baseball Classic than what it is during the regular season. For a couple reasons. Number one, obviously the pitch count. So you're only going to face a hitter maybe once, twice through the lineup. But the way you scout these players, the way you prep, it's so much tougher to do because when you're in the big leagues, you have so much data on these players. To get a mound visit, but you have all that data on all these guys. You probably faced them multiple times. Then all of a sudden you face a Colombia and you kind of, sitting there. Not like he's out there lost trying to figure it out, but you can't prep, especially for a guy like Seth Lugo. That's how he does his game prep, especially the last couple of years.
Ryan, this offense has scuffled in the main tournament a lot. 3 runs per game, as you see the team batting average, on base percentage. Everything has been sluggish for Colombia in the main event. Now, that is different from how Colombia has performed in its qualifying events. They've been brilliant in qualifiers. They have gone plus 32 in run differential over their trips to the qualifiers, a combined 7-2, but they're minus 12 run differential in the 2017 and 2023 main events.
Yeah, you definitely don't get a Seth Lugo in those qualifiers, that's for sure, when you're facing Germany and China.
2 balls and a strike on Carlos Martinez. Colombia 0 for its first 2 with runners in scoring position back in the second. Martinez, a member of the 2022 Caribbean Series championship team for Colombia. This is not a guy who many people figured would get the nod as the backstop for Colombia, but he's got a chance to put his stamp on the early going of this game. We're in the bottom half of the 4th. Martinez, ground ball left side, a chance at 2 perhaps, to the bag at second from Hernandez for 1, on to first, 6-4-3. The 1-out single snuck by Darell Hernandez, and no trouble on the bouncer here to end the 4th. We're going to the 5th, still scoreless at here on Bithorn. Not often you see a team throwing a no-hitter going into the 5th inning, already into their bullpen, but the veteran Jose Quintana departing this game for Colombia after 3 hitless innings. And we assume, Ryan Rowland-Smith, that the thought process is Jose Quintana can come back on either day 3 or day 4 of this World Baseball Classic for Jose Mosquera and his team, and provide something, whether it's a relief appearance, whether you get another nod as a starter. We saw Livan Moinelo earlier for Cuba. He'll start the final game for them after starting today, but an interesting move in this one.
Yeah, and you see Seth Lugo on the other end pitching really well. That 21 pitch, 2nd inning, but he's still in there, able to get that ground ball double play. But I think with Jose Quintana too, look, came off after the 3rd inning. We're a little bit shocked. But now you're in a position where Puerto Rico has kicked off this World Baseball Classic a little flat. Sometimes it takes a while for your offense to get cooking. And they can take advantage here if they can bring back a Quintana, especially against Cuba or Panama later on this week.
Ryan, to that point, the last 2 World Baseball Classic broadcast locations for us were in Taiwan, in Taichung in 2023, in Taipei last year for the qualifier. And in both of those instances, the home team, Chinese Taipei, really struggled to get its offense going early. And you kind of felt the pressure, some of that pressing feeling from the lineup.
For sure.
Because I think they put so much of that on themselves. Guys had a lot of really stressful at-bats where it didn't look like anybody was comfortable, and we're seeing that to a degree here with Puerto Rico tonight.
For sure, and going back to 2023, that opening night, I mean, Panama put up 12 runs against Chinese Taipei, and you're seeing something, obviously nothing here in the 5th, but this crowd's just waiting, patiently waiting for something to get excited about.
And there it is. First hit of the night, Carlos Cortez back up the middle, and a leadoff base runner for Puerto Rico in the 5th. Cortez last year, an outstanding offensive season in the A's organization, and he's got his team's first hit of the 2026 Classic.
Another bad pitch, you get that ground ball, rolled over it. But bouncing off that turf, you see that blonde hair. We got the backstory on the blonde hair.
We did. The Team Rubio reputation intact here in 2026. A little disappointed you didn't do it, but you don't want to be a team player, I guess. You asked manager Yadier Molina yesterday. All right, give us the story with the blonde hair.
Said, is this just a text on the group chat?
Yeah.
Hey, let's go blonde. He's like, no. And he dived in, didn't he? I mean,
he said, I take responsibility for this.
And that's a busy man, by the way, especially yesterday. He had coming back here to San Juan. He's got every media outlet just wanting a piece with Yadier Molina. He gave us the time. He gave us the entire backstory of the Team Rubio.
He said it was him and Carlos Beltran. They wanted to do something different, kind of shake things up in 2017 for Puerto Rico. And he said he proposed the idea to Carlos Beltran. And Beltran said, well, I don't have any hair, but I'll dye my beard.
And he also said, too, he was thinking of something while he was in the barber's chair.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, hey, you got any of that peroxide back there? I can just destroy my Destroy the hair, turn it white?
Still one of my absolute favorite World Baseball Classic stories were the stories that came out of Puerto Rico in 2017 that
There it is.
hair supply shops and salons all across this island ran out of blonde hair dye because everybody jumped on that train. They did it in 2023. They're doing it here again. And a line drive to right field is down for a base hit. Arnaiz fell coming out of the batter's box, but cutting the bag at second. Cortez digs into third, and it's first and third to get things going for the host team here in the top half of 5.
And sometimes it just takes a little bit. Tyler, a couple hits strung together. The crowd gets into it. That dugout comes alive. Everyone on that top step stumbles out of the batter's box. Doesn't matter. Puerto Rico now in business.
Yeah, Arnaiz was not going to make it to second on that ball anyway. Nice job by Gustavo Campero to get to it and cut it off quickly at the line, but good base running by Cortez, who goes first to third.
Just too excited to get up to first base and show off that Rubio.
And here's Manuel Rivera, and a grounder over to third, and it gets past Urshela. Breaking from third to score the first run of the night is Cortez, and Puerto Rico's on top 1-0.
And look, this is what that home crowd can do to you. You can see Gio Urshela, pretty sure-handed third baseman. Over there, down at third, just tried to rush on that ball coming in. Now all of a sudden, Puerto Rico on the board.
Error charge to Gio Urshela as it kicked off the heel of the glove. And the first run of the game comes home on the E5.
It's a tough one. A tough break for Team Colombia. They're hanging tough here, nothing with their guy Jose Quintana out of the game now. Almeida, who looked so good, by the way, in that last inning, now all of a sudden he's on the ropes against Puerto Rico.
Almeida struck out the side, the top third of the order, and listen to this crowd in San Juan.
They started to go quiet there for a couple innings.
It is fascinating, man. I mean, when we were in Taiwan, we saw that same thing. The tension in the crowd, that nervous energy, that was starting to build here. And now this capacity crowd here at Iran Bithorn Stadium, they are feeling it as their team threatens first and second with nobody gone for a WBC hero on this island, Eddie Rosario. No balls and a strike on Rosario. That feeling to hear your name chanted in this spot, in this ballpark, I cannot even begin to imagine for the left-handed hitting Rosario. 4th World Baseball Classic appearance for him. He lofts one foul the other way, it's 0-2. Rosario, part of those WBC runner-up squads in 2013 and 2017. Trying to deliver here. Nobody out, runners at first and second. 0-2 pitch. Line to right field, it's down for a base hit. Rounding third base, Arnaiz getting the wave at the bag. Throw, not in time, 2-0.
Tyler, I tell you what, your crowd's chanting your name. You're down 0-2 left on left. You get a hanging breaking ball. And absolutely light this place up. Knocking in that second run, Eddie Rosario.
The appreciation from this fans. Rosario urging them on as Puerto Rico has busted through here in the top half of the 5th, and now a first and third situation for Matthew Lugo. First one in there for a strike. Yeah, very different look for Almeida here in this 5th inning after striking out the side, all swinging.
Well, this is the difference too, Tyler. I'd say you got Almeida, who was in complete control that last inning, had all that mound presence. The crowd was out of it. Then all of a sudden it gets a little louder, the decibels go up, your heart rate, your blood pressure goes up a little bit. And what do? You have that 0-2 pitch, left on left, and you try and do too much with it, leave it out over the plate.
No balls and 2 strikes on Matthew Lugo. Almeida will take an extra moment to think about it. Ryan, the other thing too, and it's one of those things you just gotta love about baseball, but Carlos Cortez, something as innocuous as a little dribbler single back up the middle, and all of a sudden the line moves. Single, single, error, single. Grounder, tough play left side. Urshela gets a good hop, and that will advance Rosario to scoring position, but it's the first out of the 5th inning.
Yeah, and you're pitching in those situations too, right? Where Urshela doesn't make that play, you feel like you got that out. You're begging for outs, by the way, and so you anchor on that play, and so mentally you're not quite present with the next pitch you got to make, and we've seen that. Now all of a sudden you got that 1 out, you have to take that breath and just chip away. Get that 2nd, get that 3rd as quick as you can.
Colombia twice has had multiple runners on and has not been able to deliver. Puerto Rico, its offense coming alive for the first time, has plated 2 and has 2 more in scoring position with 1 gone here for Martin Maldonado. What an amazing story he is on this roster. Maldonado officially retired from his major league career in October, but he wanted this to be his swan song. And he lines one back off the mound and into center field, a base hit. In from 3rd is Rivera. Rosario will hold at 3rd. It's 3-0 Puerto Rico in the top half of the 5th.
Tyler, what a moment from Martin Maldonado. Coming into this tournament, you mentioned the fact he hung him up. He announced that last October, getting a chance to represent Puerto Rico for the 3rd time, World Series champion. It was going to be him or Christian Vázquez was the other option behind the plate. And what a huge moment for him, knocking in that 3rd run.
And Machete will cut short Almeida's night. Pitching change for Colombia, 3-0 Puerto Rico. Well, after a dominant 4th inning on the mound for Adrian Almeida, the wheels came off here in the 5th inning, and Colombia goes to the bullpen again and summons the Cincinnati Reds prospect, David Lourdes. The 22-year-old out of Sincelejo takes over and inherits a dicey spot. Runners at 1st and 3rd, 1 out, and back to the top of the order we go as Puerto Rico sends its 7th batter of the inning to the box, and we already get a pitch clock violation. No, just a clarification between home plate umpire Alex McKay and the reliever David Lourdes, who's probably a little bit rattled coming into this.
Absolutely. I mean, he was
crowded in this environment.
Pitching his rookie ball not long ago. Coming at an A ball, here he is facing Puerto Rico in San Juan.
First pitch fouled away. He did pitch in the qualifiers for Colombia. Just 1 inning against China. No hits, no runs, struck out a batter, issued 0 walks. Signed with the Reds in 2022. He was named an Arizona Complex League postseason All-Star in 2024. 21 appearances last year between rookie ball and Class A, a 3.78 ERA, 65 strikeouts and 26 walks and 69 innings pitched. Pretty nice season for Lourdes. And a liner right field, that's down for a base hit. Could be extra bases for Castro. 4th run of the inning is in. Castro's into 2nd. It's 2nd and 3rd with 1 out as Puerto Rico keeps the line moving. It's 4-0 in the 5th.
I tell you what, I mean, we were literally just talking about this offense taking a little bit of time to get moving here in the 5th. This crowd hasn't sat down yet. Lourdes going back to that changeup, threw a really good one the pitch before, and then just too much plate. We talk about when you have some command issues or you're a little bit rattled. Sometimes it's not spraying the ball all over the place. Sometimes it's just hanging those secondary pitches out over the plate. Puerto Rico's jumping all over them.
Ryan, not only had Puerto Rico not registered a hit in their first 4 innings of the play, they had sent the minimum. It was 12 up and 12 down effectively thanks to a 3rd inning double play as Ramos drives one high and deep out to right center field. Campero back, warning track, reaching out, and he hauls it in. Tagging at 3rd and scoring Maldonado. Castro is into 3rd. Man, oh man, Elliot Ramos was
feet away from a game-breaking 3-run shot, but a sac fly brings in run number 5.
I tell you what, this is the biggest part of this ballpark too, going to right center field. And that's something he did so well last year. 11 home runs on the breaking ball. I tell you what, Puerto Rico did a good job staying tagged up in that situation. You think to yourself, this is definitely getting by the right fielder. Martin Maldonado coming in to score.
So 2 gone for Arenado, and the first pitch is there for a strike to him. Nolan 0 for his first 2 in a Puerto Rico uniform. Popped out to short to end the first inning, struck out swinging to end the 4th. Aiming to deliver the 6th run of the 5th for the host team. 0-2. Arenado coming off 107 games last season with the St. Louis Cardinals, an injury-ravaged campaign, just a .237 average and a .666 OPS. Heading into his first season back in the NL West with the Arizona Diamondbacks this year. 0-2, and a tapper out in front of the plate. Lord Dewey gets to it, and the throw to first. Dug out by Reynaldo Rodriguez. A great job by Rodriguez to wrap things up. But 5 runs on 5 hits in the inning. Puerto Rico's bats have arrived, and the host squad has a 5-0 lead through 4.5. His nickname for this Puerto Rico team is the Puerto Rican, but it might as well be the Magician tonight. Seth Lugo working out of some jams in the 2nd and 4th inning. Colombia had runners at 2nd and 3rd with 1 out in the 2nd, had runners at 1st and 2nd with 1 out in the 4th. Seth Lugo wriggling off the hook each time, and with those missed opportunities, Colombia unable to take a lead, and Puerto Rico has busted through here as they carry a 5-0 advantage to the bottom half of the 5th inning. In game number 2 of Pool A, the 2026 World Baseball Classic, Tyler Mon, Ryan Roland Smith.
Yeah, it's amazing what that momentum could do on the defensive side and pitching side into your offense too. We talked about this Puerto Rican lineup being quiet, all of a sudden breaking out in the 5th. But what about Seth Lugo? And that's been the difference for him the last couple of years when he's had that success. What he does with runners on, opponents men on base, even last year when that second half was so shaky, only hitting around 240 against Seth Lugo with runners on base. So confident with that breaking ball. And then that ground ball double play allows him to get into the 5th inning still on the mound.
Seth Lugo is approaching the first round pitch limit, which is 65 pitches. You can exceed 65 pitches in order to complete an at-bat. Brian Huelvas will try to wait him out, see if Colombia can do any damage against Puerto Rico's bullpen, as we got a leadoff walk from Huelvas, and that may be the end of the day, and it will be for Puerto Rico's starter. Yadier Molina out from the first base dugout. He's going to go get Seth Lugo, but man, what a job by Seth Lugo to avoid damage in the 2nd and 4th, put his team in a position where one big inning could swing the night, and that's where we sit right now. A 5-0 lead for Puerto Rico, as Lugo will hand the ball off to his legendary manager. A hug from Yadier Molina. Puerto Rico's bullpen into the game next from here on Bithorn. Baltimore Orioles right-hander Rico Garcia, the new arm into the game for Puerto Rico as we move along here in the bottom half of the 5th inning. The leadoff walk issued by Seth Lugo, his final plate appearance of the evening on the pitcher's mound, and Garcia takes over on the hill. A guy who has come from some pretty humble baseball beginnings to reach the major leagues. He is an incredible story. Puts the 0-1 pitch outside to Dayan Frias.
He's gone back and forth in the big leagues last half of a decade, but 3 teams last year: the Mets, the Yankees, and the Orioles. He's going to sit around 95, 96 on that good riding fastball.
Pitch fouled away by Frias. Last year was certainly not bouncing around due to ineffectiveness. He had a 3.15 ERA, struck out 38 and 34 in the 3rd innings in his 5th big league season. Hails from Honolulu originally, but he is the son of a Puerto Rican father. And his father, Eddie, one of the big reasons behind Rico's major league dream coming true. As Frias waits and skies this one foul. Rico Garcia, now 32 years old, but when he was a sophomore at Division II Hawaii Pacific University, his father spent basically his entire sophomore season emailing anyone he could find who's affiliated with the Collegiate Summer League, the Northwoods League. Ryan, you and I have gotten a chance to do some Collegiate Summer League action with the West Coast League All-Star Game the last couple of years. And just sending videos along, trying to get somebody to respond. Rico Garcia said he basically emailed everyone in the Northwoods League, from the GM to the janitors. Whoever was on the website, he was emailing them all the way. The Kenosha Kingfish in Wisconsin took him up on a roster spot. And from there, the rest is sort of history for Rico Garcia. He was drafted by the Rockies in the 30th round in 2016. He was a two-time MILB.com organizational all-star, 2018 and 2022. Came back from missing the 2021 season with Tommy John surgery. And now working here for the birthplace of his father, Puerto Rico, here in the World Baseball Classic. Pretty incredible WBC story. Trying to win the battle against Dayan Frias. 9-hole hitter for Colombia. 3-2 pitch on the way from Garcia is up and away for ball 4. So back-to-back walks issued by two different Puerto Rico arms to get things started for Colombia in the bottom of 5.
I'll tell you what, we're getting a chance to see Seth Lugo in that dugout hanging out on the top step. But man, what a job, getting a chance to pitch into the 5th. Obviously, yeah, that leadoff runner, but yeah, for him, coming back to the World Baseball Classic after a shaky 2025 with some injuries, had the finger issue, had the back issue, and we talk about this all the time, Tyler, where players, they turn down having a chance to pitch for their country to make sure they're right. This was important to him to come here. We saw that good velocity early, so no doubt he is back to full strength with the Kansas City Royals. See him look good here against Colombia.
They are happy in that first base dugout right now. Seth Lugo doing everything he could to put his team in this position. And just terrific work over 4+ innings. As the host team, not the home team tonight, but Puerto Rico sitting pretty here in the bottom of 5. Colombia trying to change that with runners in first and second and nobody out. This is the 3rd time that this Colombia offense has put multiple runners aboard with 2 out or fewer.
And this is where you're going to have those good at-bats, right? Where you got to limit the chase. You got Rico Garcia still trying to find that feel here as we get into the month of March.
Garcia deals in the 1-2 in the air. Barely going to escape the infield as Willie Castro settles under it for the first out.
So Rico Garcia, we talked about his time in the big leagues, 3 teams last year, was effective. He's got that 4-seam, good riding pitch, and throws at the top of the strike zone, especially with 2 strikes. Change up to lefties, the 2 breaking balls to righties. But if you are Colombia in this situation, Seth Lugo, you got him out of the game. You cannot chase. We saw that all of a sudden chasing that pitch, that first out of this inning well above the strike zone. Got to put together some good at-bats.
First offering low and away to Michael Arroyo, the Seattle Mariners number 5 prospect. 0 for 1, struck out in the first inning, hit by a pitch in the 3rd. And led the minor leagues in that category. 1-0 grabs the outside corner. Wow. Tense moments over there for Jose Mosquera and this Colombia squad. One of the young skippers taking part here in this Pool A group in the 2026 Classic. Big cut miss there from Arroyo. Panama's manager, Jose Mayorga, only 33 years old as you look at the scouting report for this really talented young infielder.
And you look at hits for average and powers, hit everywhere he's gone, every age. Can own that right center field gap, especially with 2 strikes. See him try and push that ball inside out into right center field.
Matthew Lugo is shifted a bit to play him that way toward right center as the breaking ball buried. Two and 2 on Arroyo. Welvis at second, Frias at first. Garcia home. 3-2.
So he's going to try and climb that ladder. 95, he's got that good spin, 2,500 RPM. So he lives at the top of the strike zone. Gets up out over the plate, drive that ball into right center field.
Garcia setting the 3-2 pitch on the way. Fouled. We'll do it again. 2 already on via walks. And Ryan, this is the one thing you don't want to have happen if you're Puerto Rico, is start handing away offensive opportunities when you just broke through offensively. Obviously, you got some wiggle room with a 5-0 lead, but this is a guy who's got really solid tools across the board, according to the MLB pipeline staff. Waiting on another 3-2 pitch. On the way to him from Garcia. And a swing and a miss. Garcia wins the battle here. Out number 2 is Garcia's first strikeout. And with a pair gone, runners remain at first and second for Colombia.
Yeah, you can see Garcia just staying on the attack. We talked about that fastball with that really good backspin, and just ties up Michael Arroyo. You can see him trying inside that ball into right center field, especially with 2 strikes. Just gets tied up.
So with 2 away, the task falls to Reynaldo Rodriguez. The first pitch is ball 1 to him. Rodriguez is the grandson of the first Colombian to ever sign a contract with a major league organization. His grandpa Inocencio signed with the Baltimore Orioles all the way back in 1954. One-0 on the way, and Reynaldo nowhere near that one to even the count. Rodriguez made his professional debut in the New York Yankees organization back in 2006. He was later with the Boston Red Sox and the Minnesota Twins. Takes that one down and away. Man, what an asset too, Ryan, for this Puerto Rico pitching staff to have somebody like Martin Maldonado behind the plate. Just such
Absolutely.
a steady presence. We talked yesterday with Yadier Molina about what it is in Puerto Rico that creates so many brilliant catchers. 2-1. Might have broken the bat, bounced out to second, and that will bring the inning to a close. Doing a great job getting out of damage. Puerto Rico keeps Colombia scoreless in the 5th.
Rosarena, and it's gone! A 2-run shot. Breaking ball, soft hopper, and it's dropped it short. And Colombia has a run. Ball game. Colombia does it.
One of the biggest wins in World Baseball Classic history for Colombia 3 years ago against Mexico. It did not go Colombia's way in that group in 2023. They suffered a shocker of a loss to Great Britain, ended up in the qualifier, but blasted their way through that in 2025. And here Luis Escobar and his team, as he is the latest arm into the game for Colombia, trying to hang close and rally their bats to the cause as we move into the top half of the 6th inning. And the 0-1 pop-up is hauled in on a tough play, staring straight up Carlos Martinez. Nice job to retire Carlos Cortez. Now let's look a little deeper at Luis Escobar, the Cartagena native, who takes over on the mound for Colombia.
So the fastball sits in the 88 to 91 mile per hour range. The curveball is the out pitch. Had just a little cup of coffee, a shot of espresso with the Pittsburgh Pirates. 5 2/3. You like that, Tyler? Back in 2019. You see that a lot, though. Some of these teams, I'll even say, I'll throw Team Estrella in the mix too, Colombia in Pool A. But across the World Baseball Classic, when you have some of these mid-tier teams or lower-tier teams, you always have those guys who had that little bit of time in the big leagues a few years ago, and they're trying to either find their way back, or they're pitching in Mexico, or they're pitching in maybe Taiwan or in Japan or Korea. It's a big stage for him.
Mays takes that one for a strike. It's 2-1. Escobar, most recently a member of the Caimanes de Barranquilla, back home in Colombia. And with that team, he has played for his Team Colombia manager, Jose Mosquera, who is now the general manager of that squad. He led the Caimanes to the 2022 Caribbean Series title, the first in Colombia's history. Now he's moved into the GM role as this ball's lifted foul first base side. We asked him about that yesterday. He said, you know, it's weird for me to be the GM, honestly, because I like being on the field. I like the immediate impact of decisions and the results that I can see on the field, but I'm learning how to transition. Using a Caimanes reliever here. Try to keep this game at a 5-run margin in the top half of the 6th. Hernandez 1 for 2 with a single and a run scored last inning, and he skies one out to Campero in right. 2 gone.
Well, he's got to be looking around the major leagues right now and seeing some of these young managers popping up all over the place and thinking, hey, look, you know, if I keep doing my thing, coming here for the World Baseball Classic for Colombia, doing some winter ball, put on some different hats, as a GM even, a chance to manage. And look, we haven't had the conversation just yet about Yadier Molina.
Yeah.
Thinking, at what point are we going to see him as a major league manager in the big leagues?
Man, they cranked up the bass for Manuel Rivera's walk-up song. We could feel that under us in the booth as Rivera, who was the one to reach on the error that brought in the first run of the game last inning. That's here with the bases empty and 2 gone. What a night here at Iran Bithorn Stadium. And this capacity crowd, they have been treated to a good one. Little nervy going into the 5th, and then their team's bats arrived. 5 runs on 5 hits now for Puerto Rico. Only 3 of those wins earned last inning. And a flare in the foul ground first base side where Reynaldo Rodriguez will put it away, and Puerto Rico is retired in order yet again in the 6th. 5 of their 6 innings have gone that way, but they plated 5 in the other one, and that's our score going to the bottom of 6.
It's been a tale of 2 different types of World Baseball Classic performance for Team Colombia, which last year in the qualifier in Tucson, Arizona, just blistered Brazil, China, and Germany in a combined 23-1 scoring margin. Their biggest bat in that group was a guy who's not in the lineup here today, Jesus Mariaga, the outfielder from Cartagena and a member of the Caimanes de Barranquilla. And maybe we'll see him in game number 2 for Colombia, because for Jose Mosquera and his team, they got to get something figured out offensively. They have already stranded 6 on the base paths. And as we head into the bottom half of the 6th inning, it'll be the middle 3rd in the lineup with Donovan Solano leading things off. Solano 0 for 1 with a walk, and he'll be the first man in to see Giovanni Moran of the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, lefty with the Red Sox, was in the big leagues for Boston last year, 2025.
Down the left side, routine play for Nolan Arenado, 1 up, 1 down.
Pitching the 2023 World Baseball Classic. A lot of different pitches. The changeup is that big pitch. He throws a ton of them. More than the fastball too to right. He's threw a lot of them this year in AAA and in the big leagues. The changeup is a true out pitch.
This has been a fun night for this crowd here at Iran Bithorn Stadium as Harold Ramirez takes ball 1 up high. They had to finish the lyrics contest in between the top and bottom half of this inning, and it was DTMF by Bad Bunny, which I know, Ryan, you would have nailed the ending to. We were hopeful that we were going to get a sneaky little Bad Bunny appearance here at the World Baseball Classic, which we did get. We just didn't realize that it was in Tokyo, as this ball's fouled down the right field line. He was in the house for Japan and Chinese Taipei. Right. Did you happen to see the video of when Shohei Ohtani came to the plate? He was a triple away from the cycle, roped a ball to first, pulled in on a leaping grab. Bad Bunny looked so disappointed to have not gotten a chance to see Shohei Ohtani hit for the cycle, but he was rocking his Puerto Rico hat.
I mean, what's he spending a day or 2 there, then getting down here to Puerto Rico or what? You should know, man. You're his #1 fan. That's all I've heard about the last couple of days.
I do love some Bad Bunny. I will tell you, the world's coolest man right now.
And he was close to this Puerto Rican team as well. Tried to help out with some insurance. We talked about that in the open. Losing Correa and Francisco Lindor. He supplied the whole squad with custom spikes.
Look who's hanging out in the middle of that group, by the way. Another guy who's not on the roster, but has been a monster name for Puerto Rico's baseball community in recent years. Kike Hernandez, who came down to be part of this, not on the roster, but hanging out over there in that Puerto Rico dugout on the first base side. I mean, that's how much people want to be part of this WBC experience.
Cheer squad.
One of the most likable guys in baseball, and cheering on his fellow stars who put 5 on the board in the top half of the 5th inning. You know, and Ryan, you bring up the insurance thing. Giovanni Moran was one of the players who it looked like was not going to be insured for this event. But Puerto Rico came out publicly and said, you know, we might have to pull out of this thing with the roster that we're being dealt because of these insurance issues. Moran was able to get covered for this event as a liner foul first base side. And now pitching here with a 5-run lead in the bottom half of the 6th inning. Moran had Tommy John surgery in 2023 and missed all of 2024 and the first 2 months of 2025. Was activated from the IL in June of last year. Also missed all of 2016 with injuries, so it's been an accumulation of that stuff. As the 2-2 narrowly misses to put the count full on Ramirez, who's got 2 of his team's 3 hits. Harold Ramirez hoping to make a move to Japan and Nippon Professional Baseball here in 26. Starting his WBC case strong, but here unable to get to that one, and it's strikeout number 1 for Moran.
And that's that changeup we were talking about when Moran first got to the mound. Throws a ton of them.
Guys that we have seen in the World Baseball Classic before, there are a lot of them on this Puerto Rico roster, including, of course, Nolan Arenado, who won a title with the United States in 2017 and was back in 2023. But for all of the discussion of who is not on this roster, this is still a very experienced group, not only just in international play as a whole, but specifically in the WBC. First game wearing the colors of his mother's home island for Nolan Arenado. Gio Urshela fouls the 1-0 back into the screen. Gio tonight is 1 for 1. He laid down a sacrifice bunt in the 2nd inning and singled in the 4th. Trying to get something started with 2 outs here in the bottom half of the 6th. Kicks and comes home, and the 1-1 is elevated. 2 balls and a strike. Gio Urshela, 10 major league seasons, released last year by the Athletics. Keep the count go even here.
Look at that year he had 2019 with the Yankees, 21 home runs.
Moran deals. And up and in, 3 balls and 2 strikes on Urshela.
Yeah, Moran, you can see that arm, man. He's got that live arm with that good changeup, that arm speed on that changeup, so deceptive. It's just the command trying to hone that in. Land those pitches inside the strike zone.
3-2 misses for ball 4, so a 2-out walk. That is the 4th issued by Puerto Rican pitching tonight. That will extend the inning for Carlos Martinez. Martinez 0 for 2, and part of both attempts to get on the board that fell flat tonight for Colombia. He is 0 for 2 as part of those 6 ABs with runners in scoring position for tonight's home team. And did not get into the box quick enough, so we got a pitch timer violation on Martinez, and it's no balls and 1 strike on him. Alex McKay, the home plate umpire. Not gonna matter. Bouncer right back to Moran. And the 2-out walk does no damage. 5-0 Puerto Rico in control out in front of Colombia.
Night number 1 of WBC Pool A here in 2026 at Iran Bithorn Stadium. Everything changed in the 5th. Puerto Rico hitless through its first 4 innings at the plate with just 1 base runner, 5 runs, 5 hits, took advantage of an error, had their first extra base knock of the night in that frame. And that has been everything. Outside of that inning, Puerto Rico has had just 1 base runner, but they, as of right now, appear to have done more than enough work as they sent all 9 to the plate, the 2nd most in an inning in Puerto Rico's WBC history.
And one of the heroes from that 5th inning will lead things off here in the top half of the 7th as Eddie Rosario takes ball 1 out of the right arm of Luis Escobar.
And I tell you felt like they're going to be off and running after that 5th inning. Putting up a 5 spot. I think silent outside of that inning.
Rosario was the only base runner outside of that 5th. He had a leadoff walk in the 3rd, but was erased on a double play ball off the bat of Martin Maldonado on a ball hit right to the second base bag as he ropes this one foul. Rosario was off with the pitch with Maldonado at the plate. Machete bounced it right to Donovan Solano, who was standing on the bag when he fielded it, into the first base bag for the final out of that 3rd. But man, the story right now on the other side, Ryan, and we started to talk about this after the end of the 4th. The narrative was flipping from, oh, Colombia's getting some chances to Colombia's missing opportunities.
Absolutely.
Now. Good take there. The count, 3 balls and a strike on Eddie Rosario.
Again, you look at the score, it's 5-0, and you think, well, you know, they still have to put up a 5 spot. However, you know how that momentum shifts. I tell you what, you claw back into this, just a couple of runs. It's been the bottom of that order for Colombia, unable to get it done.
Here on Bithorn Stadium has been a house of horrors for visiting teams in pool play in World Baseball Classic history. This is the first WBC game at this historic venue in 13 years, but look at those numbers, an 8-1 combined record here and a plus 34 run differential over those 3 different World Baseball Classics. And the home team, though they are the visitors on the line score tonight, starting things on the right note as we'll get a pinch hitter here for Puerto Rico. As this is Brian Torres who will take the bat in place of Matthew Lugo. So Lugo's day is done after an 0-for-2 start to the Classic. Check over at first on Rosario. Brian Torres, a St. Louis Cardinals farmhand last season with the AA Texas League champion Springfield Cardinals, 104 games, 328 hitter with a 905 OPS. He's a former indie ball guy who won the American Association batting title in back-to-back seasons, 2022 and 2023. That was his first and second of 3 overall batting titles. He was named the American Association MVP in 23 as well. And then in 24, won the Texas League batting title in affiliated ball with the Cardinals.
Right. I put up some good numbers in AAA with the Cardinals. But I think the biggest thing, he has that plate discipline to him. He's got a little bit of speed. It's like, can he just generate a little bit of thump off that bat to get into that next level?
Torres from Caguas here in Puerto Rico as he takes the 3-0 for a strike. Up and away, ball 4.
That's that plate discipline we talked about. Really patient hitter, but again, just get that next level. Can he just tear it up here in Puerto Rico and get himself a chance to play in the big leagues?
Well, we already got one game in the books here in Pool A in the afternoon contest today. Cuba 3-1 winners over Panama. Yoan Moncada, a 2-run blistered home run into the teeth of the wind in left field. That was the second home run of the game for Cuba. Yoelqui Escobar laser beamed a solo shot the inning prior. That one in the second. Livan Moinelo, brilliant in his start. We will see him again. We've already had that confirmed to us by Herman Mesa, the manager of this Cuba team. And a really good start for Cuba today.
Yeah, really good. Again, they went 0-2 their first 2 games in 2023, but a couple long balls, but there's the pitching. It was so dominant. The plan, the best case scenario is that you get Livan Moinelo, Yariel Rodriguez, get the ball to Rydell Martinez. It's exactly what they did. They're in good shape, and they can then pitch on the last day of this tournament.
That look, that guy who had the wig on, that's the way you should have gone. with the blonde wig.
Yeah,
you don't have
go.
to dye it for the season. You could have just done that.
I was going to say, too, I don't want to throw him under the bus here, but you got Kike Hernandez made the trip all the way down from Dodgers camp, coming back from injury. You got all the blonde hair everywhere. What about Seth Lugo?
I know.
I mean,
I did notice that.
I spent 4 or 5 innings thinking, should I? Put the pressure
Do we call
on?
this out?
Yeah, maybe some Royal fans or something. Get on it.
So first and second for Martin Maldonado with the runners moving on a sacrifice bunt. The corners were pinched in. They knew the sac bunt was coming. And it's second and third now with one gone. And there's that small ball that we talked about earlier.
And look, Martin Maldonado, he's not known for his offense, right? He did have that big base hit in the 5th inning, but you flip the lineup over. The runs are coming at a premium. It's only been the 5th inning where they've really broken out, but why not? Sacrifice yourself, give that one run. Now you got all of a sudden, top of the lineup, 2 runners in scoring position.
The other thing, Ryan, is we're going to get a pitching change here, so we'll talk about this more on the other side, but every run counts in the Classic. We'll discuss that a little bit more. Pitching change for Colombia here in the top of the 7th. Three years ago in Taichung, Taiwan, we were lucky enough to be there to witness what became known as the Pool of Chaos. 5 teams that all finished tied at 2-2, and you see that the first tiebreaker didn't determine anything. So the second tiebreaker, runs allowed per defensive out recorded, determined the final standing, sending Cuba and Italy on through to the second round of the Tokyo Dome. Of course, Cuba advancing from the Tokyo Dome to the World Baseball Classic semis in 2023 for the first time since the inaugural edition of the Classic in 2006. And the reason we bring that up is the sacrifice bunt from Martin Maldonado a moment ago, putting runners at second and third. Obviously, it's a 5-run game. This isn't a game that is closed out by any stretch. You're still playing for the runs. But in addition to the fact that you are playing to give yourself a little bit better comfort level going deeper into this game, as Willie Castro is going to be intentionally walked here to load the bases for Elliot Ramos by the new arm into the game, Pedro Garcia. You are also, in effect, Ryan, trying to inflict as much damage to opposing teams in that number as possible. So Puerto Rico trying to hang as much on Colombia as possible tonight. Yeah, you have Colombia all of a sudden go on a tear here the next couple of games, and they're a factor, and you guys lose a game. You can be looking down the fact that you've put up a 6 or a 7 spot against them. Makes total sense. So the new arm into the game for Puerto Rico, you saw a moment ago, Pedro Garcia, who pitched last season with the Leones de Leon in the Mexican League. 39 appearances, a 3.82 ERA, and going to work with the bases loaded now against Ramos. Aggressive on his first 2 offerings from Garcia with the intentional free pass in front of him, and it's 0-2. For Ramos, a chance to break this thing wide open here as you look around the diamond. Garcia deals, and a big cut and miss. Elliot Ramos goes fishing on 3 of them, and he's gone for out number 2 in the 7th. Good punch out right there from Garcia. Last time we saw him in 2023, it's interesting because scouting report says he's low 90s, but he was pumping good 95s, 97s. See that right at the top of the strike zone, punching out Elliot Ramos. The top third in the order has faced a different pitcher every single time to the plate in this game, as now it's Nolan Arenado's chance. And this is one thing for Nolan Arenado. Struggled against righties last year. Hit 217 against righties. Hit 294 against lefties. Just trying to find that consistent hard contact again. Arenado crushes one on a rope to left field, racing back to the warning track. Ramirez gets there to put it away right into the teeth of the wind. Colombia wriggles out of the jam. Bases left loaded. Stretch time in San Juan.
Ey, el case lleno de trophies, racks pa' estar cozy. Me dicen la MVP, baby, I like that. Ponte y en la jersey, la one y la only. Me bajo con la pinta, pues I like that. 2026, esto es un clásico. Migo encima el video, eso es un clásico. Brr, baby, me go. Yeah, yeah.
Young Miko's MVP, part of the first ever official playlist of the World Baseball Classic. You can get all the details on that from the legendary Michael Clare at MLB.com as Yaxel Rios takes over on the pitcher's mound for Puerto Rico, sitting pretty with a 5-run lead as we move into the bottom half of the 7th inning.
I see Yaxel Rios with that good fastball velocity, 96, 97. Trying to make his way back to the big leagues. Spent the last couple of years in the Met system. Just trying to get a look.
Called strike there. Brian Torres remains in the game. Came on as a pinch hitter in the top half of this frame. He goes to center field in place of Matthew Lugo, so just a straight up swap there. Brian Buelvis aiming to do anything to spark his team's offense. Man, Colombia, for a team that only has 3 hits in this game, they have had a lot of base traffic. But they have been stranding runners left and right. 7 left on base to this point.
Yeah, we talked about the depth in the pitching with this tournament, right? With a team like Colombia, even Panama as well. But I think what's really hurt Colombia tonight, anytime they've had that traffic, Tyler, it's all of a sudden gotten to that latter part of the lineup, that 7, 8, 9 hitters just haven't been able to do anything. Big strikeout in the 2nd inning from Seth Lugo.
That one called strike 3 as he freezes Buelvis, the 8-hole hitter. 1 gone for Colombia in the 7th.
And a double play in the 4th inning. Again, just quiet here in the 7th. That first strikeout. The bottom of the strike zone.
So that'll bring up Diane Frias, Cleveland Guardians prospect, last season between AA and AAA with the Akron Rubber Ducks and the Columbus Clippers. .216 hitter with a .636 OPS. Another guy with a great baseball background. He grew up learning the game from his dad, who was friends with Orlando Cabrera. So look at the heat coming out of the right arm of Yaxel Rios. That pitch at 97 fouled away.
Yeah, for Yaxel Rios, just hasn't really figured it out at the major league level. He's got his chances. Last time appeared in 2023 with the A's. Just an inning in the 2/3.
Started to rain a little bit here at Aaron Bithorn Stadium. Had some showers yesterday in the early portion of the workout day here at this ballpark. You see the ponchos coming out. Some fans headed for the concourse as a bouncing ball foul first base side. We'll keep it at 1-2. The early game today, everybody was hanging out up under the overhang because of the sun. Now they're moving up under the overhang because of the rain. Yeah, I like that towel look down the Puerto Rico dugout on the first base side. 1-2 pitch on the way from Rios. And Frias down the left field line. This one slicing toward the corner, and on a long run, Elliot Ramos gets there to put it away. Great job by Ramos to track that ball through the raindrops. 2 gone.
A tough one, that long run. Plus, you mentioned the raindrops, heavy raindrops as well. Yeah, plenty of foul ground down there and down these lines, left field and right field.
So with 2 gone, we'll go back to the top of the order in Gustavo Campero. Takes strike 1. Man, it is, I mean, pouring now. The braver fans who are going to stick it out in the seats, even they have decided, all right, maybe it's time to go back up and find some shelter as that one slips out of the hand of Rios. Yeah, I mean, this is like movie rain. It wasn't raining, and then the Truman Show style rain arrived. Started pouring here on this artificial turf surface at Aaron Bithorn Stadium. 1-1. Shot the other way, 1-2.
Pitching in the rain, Tyler, is no fun. And look, everyone thinks, well, yeah, the grip of the ball. We saw Rios, that ball slipping out of his hand, but it's also underneath your feet as well. And that dirt starts to get a little squishy underneath your feet. You start sliding a little bit.
Man, it feels better when you got a 5-0 lead, though, as the 1-2 misses just down 2-2. I mean, this came out of nowhere today. But yeah, it's pretty easy to say, nah, I think I'm going to stick it out in the rain when your team's leading and you're having a good night. This is a 5-0 score the other way. Probably see a decent amount of people say, all right, let's start heading for the car. Although, I don't know. This is not a fan base that's just going to bail on their team early. And tonight, they're certainly sticking around to, hopefully, for this Puerto Rico side, celebrate a night one victory as the bouncer turns into a 6-3 put out on the second base side of the bag, and we are headed to the top of the 8th, 5-0 Puerto Rico. Last inning, Nolan Arenado seemed like he got a hold of one, and it died in the wind out and left.
Yeah, I just didn't have the launch to it, that's for sure. He's frustrated, but look at this reaction right here. Fired up, you're down 5-0, looking at your bench. And then peer to the heavens. Still down 5-0. You'll take it though, Tyler. That ball stayed in the ballpark. I'll never forget, JJ Putz was a teammate of mine. I was in 2007. I got to the big leagues. I threw a pitch, gave up a line drive out. I came in, I was like frustrated. And JJ was like, what are you mad about? I said, oh, you know, he hit that ball hard. He goes, bro, this is the big leagues. You understand, every out is a good one.
Everybody's going to hit the ball hard.
Give it a fist pump, that's right. Doesn't matter how you get him, just get him.
New armor to the game for Colombia here in the top half of the 8th inning is Yapson Gomez, who is the 5th reliever out of the bullpen since Jose Quintana's hitless 3 innings to get this game started. He'll try to hold the line with his team trailing 5-0 just as quickly as it dumped buckets of rain on this field. The rain is now gone. You know, in a tropical area, that's going to happen. And we'd rather have it out of here than not, as the first man to step into the batter's box to get things started for Puerto Rico in the top half of the 8th inning will be Carlos Cortez. You know, it was a late arrival to the mound for Gomez, who came out of the bullpen with like 40 seconds left on the between inning clock, so he's getting his warm-up time. As this is far from the only action in the World Baseball Classic tonight. You see some of the other scores. The United States out in front of Brazil. Aaron Judge, what a surprise, rising to the moment. A home run in his first World Baseball Classic at bat. The captain of this 2026 squad for Mark DeRosa's team. Man, we very nearly had a shocker of an upset in the early games today. It was the 7th inning. And Great Britain and Mexico were tied at 1 apiece. Mexico ended up pulling away for an 8-2 win in that game, but that looked like it was shaping up to be a stunner. Venezuela takes down the Netherlands 6-2. And of course, in our early game here, Cuba over Panama 3-1. Japan beat up on Chinese Taipei 13-0 in a mercy rule game that we all woke up to here from technically tonight over at the Tokyo Dome. Rematch of the Premier 12 final from 2024. Japan exercising some demons with that beatdown victory today. They lost in a monumental upset to Chinese Taipei in Premier 12 in November of 2024. Ryan and I were on the call for that one, along with our good friend JP Morosi. Kike Hernandez and his guys having some fun here on night number 1 in San Juan. Check swing there, and no swings as our third base umpire, Domingo Paulino. Carlos Cortez 1 for 3. He got everything started in the 5th inning. A leadoff single on a bouncer back up the middle, scored his team's first run. And the left-handed hitting, switch throwing Carlos Cortez.
That's amazing, right? Throw both. Now I got a 7-year-old son who I'm still trying to figure out if he's right or left-handed.
So is he.
Yeah. Maybe I should do that. Maybe, hey, look.
Just do both.
Yeah, just do both. You got it.
If you're in the outfield, throw with your left hand. You come into the infield, give it a shot with your right.
That's right.
Cortez takes that one on the outside corner, a called strike 3.
Tonight's copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of World Baseball Classic Incorporated. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. Some of the legends of Puerto Rican baseball. One guy in the dugout on your screen right there, Yadier Molina. The big three not taking part in this year's edition of the World Baseball Classic, but undoubtedly tuned in from their various camps in the United States. 2 gone. Their knives retired. Yesterday, Ryan, we were standing watching some of the workout activity here at around Bithorn Stadium, and a guy walked by, and I thought, man, that guy really looks like Carlos Delgado. And then we were talking with Yadier Molina, and he said, yeah, Carlos Delgado's around here somewhere. No, that was Carlos Delgado. It's one cool thing about the festival of baseball that is the World Baseball Classic. You don't know who you're going to come across as the first pitch in there for a strike to the 6-hole hitter, Manuel Rivera. Rivera was the one to bring in the first run of the night and kick off that 5-run inning. He hit a hard bouncer to Gio Urshela. That Urshela misplayed and now gets into one high and deep to left field. Ramirez back to the wall, and with his back nearly at the fence is there to put it away. Manuel Rivera just missed it. 3 up, 3 down. Puerto Rico retired in the top half. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th, and Puerto Rico's got a 5-0 lead over Colombia. The legends of Puerto Rican baseball immortalized in this gorgeous mural, part of the renovations here at Around Bithorn Stadium in San Juan. A guy you know very well, and one of the greatest hitters of all time, Edgar Martinez, Puerto Rodriguez, who was here to catch the first pitch, thrown by Carlos Beltran, Roberto Alomar as well. Around Bithorn is on one end of that mural. Roberto Clemente gets his own wall on the other side as a leadoff base hit on the first pitch at the bottom half of the 8th inning. Gets things going for Colombia. Michael Arroyo with his first knock of the Classic on the first offering from Angel Reyes, who's the latest arm into the game for Puerto Rico.
You see Reyes, just a sub-5 ERA here in winnable Carolina. Played in the Mexican League this year, last year, 2025. Just going back to that mural though, Tyler, we talked about this afternoon. It's a little presumptuous, but I love the fact that, well, you got Yadi up there. You can see into the future crystal ball.
And they have his year of induction as well, 2028. Luis Vasquez takes over at shortstop for Puerto Rico. Yeah, presumptuous, but in a way that I'm like, yeah, I kind of like that. That's fantastic. Yadier Molina will be eligible in 2028, and folks here know he is a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer, as Martin Maldonado will go out to talk things over with Angel Reyes. How about this pregame today? Kike Hernandez not able to take part in this World Baseball Classic due to injury, but mixing it up with fans, hanging out, signing autographs, having fun pregame. Yadier Molina doing the same.
So cool, man. Look at those kids down there on the field. So lucky. Their team.
My brain would have melted out of my skull if I was 6 years old, let on the field to take a picture with Yadier Molina and Kike Hernandez prior to a WBC game at Puerto Rico's hallowed Around Bithorn Stadium. Around Bithorn, by the way, if you are wondering, the first Puerto Rican to play Major League Baseball. That's who this stadium is named after. The Cangrejos de Santurce and the Senadores de San Juan, they play their games here in the Puerto Rican Winter League. Santurce, of course, the legendary club that Roberto Clemente called home, along with other Hall of Famers. There you see the legendary Around Bithorn. Big cut in this on 3-1. Around Bithorn, by the way, not just a baseball legend. He also competed in the Central American and Caribbean Games, winning a silver medal in volleyball and a bronze in basketball. Wow. In 1935, and then made Major League Baseball as well, as Arenado will cut down the lead runner here, Arroyo. One gone with Rodriguez reaching on the fielder's shorts. What would your secondary sport have been? We're going to see you in the Olympics, not as a silver medalist in baseball for Australia.
Man.
Arnado fumbled that ball just briefly. That may have been the difference between a double play and just the lead out.
Rugby, I guess.
Not a cricketer? Not going to be a cricketer,
No,
man?
I was never into it.
Interesting.
And I opened my big mouth when I was with the D-backs and went back to Australia against the Dodgers. And the reporter said, "Oh, cricket, you know, what cricket?" And they kept asking
the
me.
Sydney Cricket Ground,
Exactly,
where those games
at the
were.
SCG, that's right. And I said, "Oh, I was never into it. I found it boring." Ooh, that upset
I'm
some
sure that
people.
went over
I was
well.
just, seriously, I can say that comfortably now, but I was just never into it.
Donovan Solano into the box for his 4th trip to the plate. Walked to lead off the 2nd inning, and that was the first of all those missed opportunities for Colombia, straining 7 on base between the 2nd and 6th innings. And on here with 1 out in the 8th. And Solano charges 1 out to right field. But Carlos Cortez will fade under it and put it away. 2 gone. Closing in on the final outs of day number 1, but coming up tomorrow, this Colombia team a real quick turnaround, and they got to go against a very rested and extremely talented Canada team as Mike Soroka will take the ball against Julio Teheran. 11 a.m. Eastern time start for that one on FS2. Panama and Puerto Rico in the nightcap. 7 o'clock local time, 6 o'clock Eastern. Ariel Jurado will get the ball in that contest for Panama, looking to bounce back from a day 1 loss.
That's a tough assignment, having those night games day 1 of your WBC, then having to turn right around, play that noon game, especially against Canada. I rank them as my #1 offense in this tournament.
Yeah, that Canada team is going to be a lot of fun to watch. This is the best group, I think you could say pretty comfortably, that Canada has ever brought to a World Baseball Classic. Right. Talking with their delegation leader, their GM Greg Hamilton, and Ernie Witt, their manager, they said, you know, we had guys that we had to say no to, major league caliber guys, and we've never had that before. As the 1-1 foul there, 1-2.
Yeah, we always talk about that depth. I think that's why I'm ranking Canada #1, even over Puerto Rico. And the reason why, you look at players who played in the major leagues. Obviously, both these lineups, Canada and Puerto Rico, are flooded with major league talent. But when you're talking OPS, slug, on-base percentage, K rate, some of these numbers, as a collective, Canada is toppling the host nation, Puerto Rico.
1-2 pitch is a slider that just missed off the outside part of the plate. Fans wanted that call. Maldonado may have as well. 2 balls and 2 strikes now on Ramirez.
Yeah, this is well outside the strike zone. Tell you what, Martin Maldonado, man, he know about that arm, but the way he can frame and set up.
Ramirez 2 for 3 tonight. Half of his team's hit output to this point. Singles in his first 2 trips to the plate. Looking to make something happen here with a 2-2 count. Facing Angel Reyes in the 8th. Reyes ready. 2-2 pitch. Lined into center field. A 3rd hit of the night for Harold Ramirez. If this is an audition for an NPB job, he is doing some great work here on this Friday night in San Juan. 2 out, 2 on.
Again, Colombia in business. There's some traffic as you're starting to approach the bottom part of this order. You got Giroshella, Martinez.
So now it's Urshela's turn. Gio 1 for 1 in his 3 plate appearances. He's got a walk and a sacrifice bunt and takes ball 1 in tight.
I'll tell you what though, Tyler, I asked you in the inning break about, do we see Edwin Diaz probably not up by 5? Of course not, #1 plus the restrictions. All of a sudden, Urshela come back with a couple runs. See Edwin Diaz and the trumpets coming out of that bullpen.
Yeah, that could change very quickly here with Urshela batting with 2 on. But this has been the story of Colombia's night. Getting runners on, not being able to move guys around to get them to the plate. They had their best chance in the 2nd inning. First 2 men reached. Urshela sacrifice bunt put him at 2nd and 3rd, but hitless with runners in scoring position, 7 left on. Urshela takes that one away. It's 2-1.
Yeah, that 0 for 6, you saw on that graphic. And that's been the story for Colombia. See, Jose Quintana started this game left after just 31 pitches. Silver lining there, he's eligible later on in this week, in this tournament.
2-1, Urshela did not offer, and the count's 3 balls and a strike. Mario Villavicencio, our first base umpire. And if Urshela gets on, Carlos Martinez is waiting in the on-deck circle, but he is 0 for 3 tonight. And there it is, ball 4. And we will see which way Jose Mosquera wants to play this, but they are loaded up now. And this is the biggest spot of the night for Colombia. And Jordan Diaz will take the bat in place of Carlos Martinez. Pinch hitter, Puerto Rico's headed to the bullpen. Bases loaded for Colombia in the 8th. The biggest spot of this game for Colombia has arrived, and a new arm into this game for Puerto Rico. Fernando Cruz takes over on the pitcher's mound. Bases loaded in a 5-run contest, and Ryan Rowland-Smith, he'll face a pinch hitter in Jordan Diaz.
Yeah, Fernando Cruz, one of the most devastating splits in the game. Throws around 60% of the time. And from the Cincinnati Reds to the New York Yankees last year.
Diaz, first pitch swinging. May have just ended the inning. Fly ball lands in the glove of Carlos Cortez, and that will do it. Colombia leaves them loaded, and we go to the 9th. Puerto Rico with a 5-0 lead. Well, a mammoth game in Pool A coming up tomorrow for Colombia, which is on the wrong side of a 5-0 score right now, but they will get to turn to a 2-time National League All-Star in Julio Teheran. That's a big one, Ryan. You can't afford to fall behind the 8 ball with an 0-2 start in pool play.
Yeah, and I mean, look, he petitioned to his manager to get that start against Canada. Again, you are hoping that you get Quintana tonight. He kind of bowed out a little bit early, 31 pitches. You're hoping to do something here against Puerto Rico and then have Tehran against Canada. You'd be sitting pretty. Not the case, but big assignment for him in that day game tomorrow.
So as we move into the top half of the 9th inning, Eddie Rosario will lead off against an entirely new battery for Colombia. It's not just Danis Correa who takes over on the pitcher's mound, but that is Daniel Villojin behind the plate. Comes on in place of the pinch hitter, Jordan Diaz, who pinch hit in place of Carlos Martinez, the starting catcher in this game for Colombia. No balls and 2 strikes on Rosario. Eddie Rosario has been aboard all 3 times today for his team. Drove in a run back in the 5th, scored a run in that 5-run frame as well. This is looking like a very symmetrical line score. 4 scoreless innings to start it. 5 runs in the top half of the 5th. Everything has been scoreless since.
Tell you what, Yadi Molina's not messing around too. 5 runs here for Puerto Rico. And he's still using the back end of that bullpen. We saw Fernando Cruz. Now we'll question whether or not we're going to see Edwin Diaz in the 9th inning.
Bouncer foul.
And here he is warming up, Edwin Diaz. 5 runs. So this was, we call it pre-planned. Knowing he was probably going to pitch a somewhat close game here on day 1. Just wondering if they're going to roll out the trumpets. What do you think?
They did play that song earlier tonight.
They did.
Just for the crowd. As Rosario fouls that away. Yeah, good question. You bring it back for the intro? Does he have a special intro on home soil?
I don't know. It's got to be the trumpets.
Guess we'll find out.
One of the best walkout songs. We were talking about walkout songs yesterday. Some good ones. Trevor Hoffman, Hell's Bells. Grant Balfour won Metallica when he came out with the Athletics just a couple years ago. The trumpets from Edwin Diaz.
Two balls and 2 strikes. Puerto Rico, obviously you'd love to be able to add something, but man, these fans are chomping at the bit to get to Edwin Diaz as Rosario clubs one high and deep down the right field line, but that will hook foul. Almost right to Edwin Diaz, in fact, in that Puerto Rico bullpen.
He's getting some pitches to handle too, Rosario, right? He's just in that straight step in the bucket and just yanking everything into right field. We saw that in that 5th inning. He's going to take a look at Edwin Diaz.
Donis Correa, the 26-year-old from Cartagena, trying to retire Rosario for the first time tonight, and does so there on a breaking pitch for a called strike 3. Well, 3 years ago, March 15th, 2023, a tough moment for Puerto Rico fans and New York Mets fans alike. Edwin Diaz slammed the door shut on a monumental win over the Dominican Republic to clinch a spot in the quarterfinals, but during the celebration suffered a complete patellar tendon tear in his right knee. Had to be carted off, missed the entire 2023 season. Puerto Rico ended up suffering a loss, blowing a lead late to Mexico in the quarters. This offseason, of course, Diaz signing a 3-year, $69 million deal with the Dodgers, the highest average annual value ever given to a major league reliever. But I think more than anything, the importance of this event to the athletes who participate in it is the presence of Edwin Diaz in this game.
Right.
Because if anybody had a reason to be like, hey, I can't risk it, it's Edwin Diaz.
Right.
But he wanted to be here.
Yes, and that was heartbreaking when you saw it. And the first thought I had was, look, this is that kind of that turning point here where pitchers around Major League Baseball, doesn't matter if it's Team USA, Puerto Rico, whoever it is, that they sign up and they come here in the month of March to pitch. And you're starting to see it, but you saw that moment, you think to yourself, oh man, is this going to put the brakes on having the best pitchers in the game participate? But when I saw his name on that roster, Edwin Diaz, man, I was so happy to see him back here in 2026.
Yeah, I don't think anything speaks to the importance of this more than that decision. And Diaz getting his work in that bullpen. The new Dodgers reliever seemingly will be on for the bottom half of the 9th inning, with Puerto Rico not in a save situation for him. A 5-run lead for the home team, the host team today. They're the visitors for game number 1. Puerto Rico tomorrow will be the home team against Panama in the nightcap. As the host squad, they'll play night games throughout. They'll play 2 games. They get the off day on Sunday, and then their final 2 Monday and Tuesday against Cuba and Canada. Moon rising over the left field light standards as a beautiful evening sets in here in San Juan. Maldonado, the 1-1, and unable to hold up there, 1-2. Beautiful day. Fought through some rain a little while ago in this game.
It's insane. 14.5 strikeouts for 9.
And that's Major League history. We talked about earlier today, Aroldis Chapman atop that list. Two balls and 2 strikes on Maldonado. Count goes full on him here. Maldonado, RBI single and a run scored back in the 5th. 3-2 pitch and a swing and a miss as Correa finishes him off, and that will send us to the bottom of the 9th. 5-0 Puerto Rico trying to close it out next.
Coming up next on FS1, the Big East regular season championship is on the line for St. John. Zuby Ejiofor and the Johnnies looking for back-to-back titles. Standing in their way, the scrappy Seton Hall Pirates looking for a...
Well, that doesn't give you goosebumps. I don't know what in this sport will, as one of the game's greatest closers is on the pitcher's mound to try to close out a night one victory here at Iran Bithorn Stadium. And 96 miles an hour on his first offering, Edwin Diaz with his signature song blaring through his home ballpark deals strike one into Brian Buelvis. Diaz headed to the Los Angeles Dodgers for this 2026 season and beyond. And in his first appearance in front of these fans, will try to put the finishing touches on a 5-0 win, potentially, for Puerto Rico. And he's out in front of Brian Buelvis, 1-2.
Yeah, that fastball just jumps on you, 96 to 98, can hit triple digits at times. He's got that devastating slider. He's been able to command those two pitches more and more as his career has gone on.
And correction, this is a pinch hitter, Tito Polo, in the batter's box, who is able to hold up there, and the count will go to 2-2 on him. It's in the spot in the order for Buelvis, but it is Polo, a late addition to this roster after some changes in the final days before the start of Pool A. Diaz deals, and a liner into center field, and a leadoff base hit for Tito Polo, trying to get his team started here in the ninth against Edwin Diaz.
That's the best chance you got against Edwin Diaz. You're guessing right. You're just going to sit fastball. If you get the slider, you pretty much hang with him. But got something middle of the plate, something you can handle.
So leadoff man on. But obviously all kinds of breathing room for Diaz to work with. There's a big cut and miss there from Diane Frias.
Now, Tyler, sometimes too, these closers in those non-save situations can't quite get the juices flowing. However, it's a little bit different when you're on home soil for the first time. We're in Puerto Rico across your chest. Doesn't matter if it's 20-0 right now. The adrenaline's pumping. You see that good velocity from Edwin Diaz. Trying to close this one out.
Yeah, you got to think there are not a lot of moments that are going to make your heart pound especially hard when you've been through the battles that Edwin Diaz has, but this would be one of them. Coming out in front of your home fans for the first time, the songs blaring, Narcos by Timmy Trumpet, the lights flashing in sync with the music. And that entrance, I mean, the second that bullpen door swung open, this place went crazy. 1-1 pitch to Frias, blown by him, 1-2.
When we first came up with the Seattle Mariners, and he had a ton of success, don't get me wrong, obviously reliever of the year, but there was a little bit of that inconsistency because he does have that funky leg kick, and there's times where that command just eluded him. Not the case the last couple of years.
1-2, that one escapes from Maldonado, and that will put the leadoff base runner Polo into scoring position.
This ball just gets away from maybe a little bit too fired up. See that front leg I'm talking about? That landing foot. Really inconsistent at times.
2-2. Swung on and missed.
But again, creates that deception too. Like I said, the ball kind of comes out of nowhere. You talk to hitters in the big leagues. It's kind of got that, like I said, that funky delivery. Hides the ball well. It's just so tough to pick up that fastball and slider, the difference in that spin.
And that'll bring in Gustavo Campero back at the top spot in the lineup for Colombia. And the first offering is there for a strike to him as well. Campero 0 for 4 out of the leadoff spot. Diaz, I mean, in his bag right now, just getting the ball back, getting those signs from Maldonado and firing. 1-1. Quick turnaround for Colombia. The day game tomorrow against Canada. 12 o'clock local time first pitch. As Campero takes ball 2 up and away. Two members of this Puerto Rico pitching staff on that list. The highest whiff percentage in Major League Baseball.
All right, and the back end of this bullpen too. This is why I ranked Puerto Rico the best pitching staff, because of the bullpen. We saw Fernando Cruz in that 8th inning, only having to throw the one pitch, but that devastating split. You see that whiff rate go through the roof. And of course, Edwin Diaz for the 9th.
3-1, 3-2. Campero swings himself out of his helmet and the count's full.
There's just so many different ways he can get that swing and miss. He can elevate, he can bury that slider.
3-2 pitch on the way. We'll do it again. Nobody has had more fun tonight than Eddie Rosario. RBI single to run scored in the 5th inning. A couple of walks to go along with it. Some amazing headgear to go along with the Team Rubio beard. A wave and a miss from Campero. Back-to-back strikeouts after the leadoff single. 2 gone here in the 9th.
That's not even the best quality of slider. It doesn't matter though. Like I said, it's just so tough to pick up. Just arms and legs coming at you.
So the task falls to Michael Arroyo to try to keep this thing going. And the first pitch in on him, it's 1-0. Arroyo, the number 5 Mariners prospect, according to MLB Pipeline, has been aboard twice today, hit by a pitch in the 3rd, singled in the 8th. And the 1-0, he loses the bat. Thankfully, a lot of foul territory here at Aaron Bithorn Stadium, so it doesn't do any damage.
This is a fun matchup. You got one of the best prospects in baseball up against one of the highest swing and miss pitchers in the big leagues. Back goes flying. And no doubt this will not be the only time these two will face each other in the near future.
That Puerto Rico dugout ready for the post-game handshake line. Trying to match Cuba's 1-0 start from earlier today here in Pool A. Ball and a strike on Arroyo. Diaz deals. 1-2.
Again, that slider hasn't been the best quality pitch we've seen from Edwin Diaz over the years, but tell you what, man, if he can bury that plus slider right now to Michael Arroyo down and away, get that swing and miss. He tries to elevate. 97.
97.
I mean, we're talking early March right now. We're still in spring training mode, essentially, right? With that adrenaline pumping through.
3 balls and 2 strikes. Arroyo very patient against one of the best arms in baseball. Sign of maturity for a young guy still in prospect status. Hasn't made his big league debut.
He's going to get a fastball. He's going to challenge him up 5.
3-2. Fouled.
Get that swing off, young man. Get that ace swing off.
Maldonado was just making sure that that was not a swing and miss that came off of his glove. He would have had to play it first, but
yeah.
An emergency swing from Arroyo just to keep himself alive. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Diaz trying to close out a night 1 win for the home team. Kicks and deals. Got him! What a night at Aaron Bithorn Stadium. Puerto Rico did not have a hit outside of the 5th inning, but they plated 5 runs on 5 knocks in that frame, and it's more than enough as they cruise to a 5-0 win over Colombia.
Yeah, this crowd was fired up to come into night 1. It's been since 2013. They saw it all. They saw that 5th inning. Finally, the offense got going. And, of course, Edwin Diaz closing it out. First time on home soil for him in front of this home crowd. Man, what a night for Puerto Rico here to kick off the World Baseball Classic.
bellowing vamo after getting that final swing and miss. He strikes out the side after the leadoff single. And what a debut on home soil for this Puerto Rico team. Back in this ballpark for the first time in 13 years, since 2013. And Puerto Rico having fun tonight here at Iran Bithorn Stadium as they all share a moment together beyond the pitcher's mound and celebrate a night one win. So Cuba and Puerto Rico, winners today. And for the home team now, you move on, your focus shifts to tomorrow and Panama, and it's a monster game for two teams tomorrow on the other side, Colombia and Panama, who each dropped their contest today, and you don't want to start 0-2.
Yeah, and obviously they got the night game tomorrow, but again, just a special way to kick off this first night here in Puerto Rico. Seth Lugo was brilliant, pitched into the 5th inning, and obviously they could bridge the gap with that outstanding bullpen, and then get the ball to that man right there, Edwin Diaz.
Well, we are set for more baseball tomorrow. Coming up at noon local time at 11 a.m. Saturday morning Eastern time, Colombia and Canada. Julio Teheran against Michael Soroka. And then in the nightcap, the home team takes to this field again as Puerto Rico will play host to Panama in game number 4 from Pool A. What a game, what a day, what a night at this ballpark. And Puerto Rico 1-0 with a 5-0 win over Colombia. Coming up tomorrow, don't miss our continuing coverage of Pool A from here at Iran Bithorn Stadium in San Juan. Again, noon local, 11 a.m. Eastern. Canada kicks off its tournament against Colombia. And then at 7 local, 6 Eastern, Puerto Rico plays host to Panama. For Ryan Rowland-Smith and our entire crew, this is Tyler Mond saying good night for now. And thanks for watching our presentation of the 2026 World Baseball Classic.